Microphone's gonna help. Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to this everybody's stream on Sunday stream. I'm Max Boivin. I've put the link in the description down below. We should be live now. Yes, we are. So you're welcome to join. Like there's some rules and etiquette down in the description down below. And I do have a bit of a topic I want to talk about tonight. Although, as I said, this is a bring your own topic kind of show. So if you have a different topic you want to bring, you're welcome to do so. Yes, they are. Well, they're not rules. It's more like an etiquette. You know what I mean? What do you mean, Guardian the Rune? What's too long? I don't know what you're talking about. Like I'm started like pretty much on time. The start hour of this show is 9:10 for some reason. So, and hello, Guardian Rune. Hello, Justin. I hope you're gonna join me again, Justin. Oh, there you go. There you are. Speaking of the devil, there. Hello, Justin. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I have my mic
Yeah.
muted because.
Oh, I thought I'm trying those new headphones there. I'm not too happy with them. I think I'm gonna return them actually. Voilà.
Oh,
But
what's wrong with them?
they're a Bluetooth headphone. I
Uh,
wanted to have like an open ear earbud, and I wanted them wireless because I hate being wired when I stream. But I wanted open ear so I can still hear what's going on around the house, right? But they have too much latency. It's driving me crazy. And
oh yeah.
yeah, it's like half a
Um,
second latency. And
I've got my headphones. They're Marshall Majors, so they're on ear, and they're wired right into the microphone. So
oh yeah,
I'm
the
getting the
monitor.
feed. I'm getting the
Yeah.
feed from my voice in my ear. The slight
Well, that
latency.
yeah, like that drives me mad when they're when that drives me mad when they're like just a little bit of delay there. Like it's gonna fucking drive me insane. But open ear is great too because I can hear myself better than what I have the can. Uh, Maybe it's gonna help over time improve my addiction. don't don't bet on that too much.
Well, that's the point of like having a monitor, so you are hearing what's actually being picked up by the
Yeah,
mic, right? But
yeah. No, no, it's always a guess. I have to ask. Like, can you hear me well? Do I sound all right?
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So I
Good.
was just making some tea when you started the show. So
Well, you know what time we start. 9:10.
yeah, but you know what?
Hello,
I
Martin Will.
decided to have some tea instead of pop at the last minute.
Nah, that's all right. That's all right.
Give me a moment so I don't knock a kettle over.
No worry. I have a bit of a topic I want to talk about tonight, but before we get into the topic, I want to talk about the MCDM backer kit. I was always about to say Kickstarter, but it actually did it on backer kit, which I think it's interesting. I like seeing people move away from the Kickstarter to different option. But yeah, so I want to talk about it, the MCDM backer kit because they are the sponsor of this show. No, I'm kidding. Can you imagine? I don't know why I want to talk about that. Oh yeah, I know why I want to
They're
talk
like
about that.
the
It's kind of
Taco Bell
what
over on the commercial.
the what?
They're the sponsor of the show, like Taco Bell over on.
Yeah,
on
exactly. This show is brought to you by the MCDM RPG. Go check their backer kit. No,
They will be
I will
blocking
never.
you soon.
Yeah, I will never have like a fucking sponsor. Like who would fucking sponsor me? Not only I'm controversial, but also I don't like stuff, right? Like where I'm gonna like you look at the people at the company that sponsor like RPG channel, like Describe, like what they do, like they give you like a predefined text that you can read to your player. Like I'm fucking against that. Like it's fucking insane. I'm not a
Describe.
big like I think you should buy less shit, not more. So who would ever like sponsor me for anything?
Manscaping and disc plate and
I don't believe in
into the AM.
manscaping nor in display. I don't like to put stuff on my wall. I like living in a black void.
I believe in being a floating head.
Yeah, I believe in you can see my body when I'm wearing my blanket.
Yeah, you need to get a pitch black blanket.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
To get back on brand, damn you.
Maybe one day I'm gonna wear like a colorful T-shirt and surprise you all. Hello,
You're gonna buy,
crafting gamer. Nice seeing you.
you're gonna buy one of the tie dye shirts from.
Oh man, can you imagine? But no printing on it, just the tie dye. Yeah,
No. You just get one of the absurd things.
yeah, yeah. So
Really on
Arun
brand.
say, good evening, Arun. Arun say I don't like the MCDM guy, which is MC, like Matt Colville. That's the
Yeah,
MC. He is MCDM, like Matt Colville Dungeon Master.
I don't know.
Uh,
He's got weirdly perfect hair.
and he got a
You
good
ever look at him?
voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that going for him. But that's not the type of thing that make me like somebody.
Yeah,
Uh,
me either.
mm,
But I'm trying to like upsell his positives.
yeah, but yeah, and I think his games sound lame as well. But that's it's kind of related to the topic I want to talk about tonight about like game mechanics. Unless people that join want to talk about something else, I'm always open to veer off to a different topic. We can always bring back this topic some other time.
Yeah,
And if you
well,
want to join, I put the link in the chat earlier, so you can use it. Feel free to use it. Like there's some rules to read. Like it's like they're not really rules. Just have a decent sound and try to be respectful when you're on stream.
oh
But yeah,
well,
like
I definitely violate the first one. Have I ever had decent sound?
yeah, you sound alright.
Okay.
Yeah, you sound good. But that's the thing I want to talk about. You see like this is campaign is already like wildly successful. He just like got started a few days ago. There's still like 25 days to go, and he already like $2.8 million US,
Mhm.
so about 45 Canadian. Uh,
Yeah, that's just $45 Canadian.
45 million, but like
No. $45, and that's because we've been having a good day on the the
yeah,
exchange. It's
somebody spilled his coffee on the on the forex computer.
it gave us a massive boost.
So
Oh.
the campaign is massively successful, and I want to talk about that a bit because it's always interesting to me when those campaigns do very well.
Mhm.
I talk when Shadow Dog did very well and stuff like that, but like in the case of a MCDM, to be honest, I think instead of people that are gonna be like disappointed because I think the game mechanic, well, kind of sound lame to me. It's definitely not doing
Well,
something that I'm interested in, but
give me
also. Mhm.
give me and the audience the TLDR on what the mechanics are.
It's a okay. It's a 2d6 system, but
Okay.
you don't roll to hit. You always hit, and I think it's player facing because like the character roll to defend if the monster attack them. The monster like so the heroes the PC only roll for damage basically because you're always gonna hit, and you can have like you can stack up D4 for boons and banes. I forgot the exact name that they
Mhm.
mean. So you're gonna roll 2d6 and you can roll like a bunch of d4 on top that you're gonna add or subtract depending, and they cancel each other out. So if you have like two boons and one bane, then you only roll one boon, right?
Mhm.
And then you can add d8 for to that from a resource of your character that you can add. Like you can like when you do like special stuff with the character, you're gonna add d8 to your rolls. Um, and the game is designed to play on a grid.
Oh, well, if you're
S-
designing on a grid in the first place, why not just add the measuring tape and call it a war game, right? Like,
Well, it's not doing a war game; it's doing a board game. It's designed to play on a
yeah,
grid. The rules talk in matter of square, and they say that the game is gonna be heroic and tactical and stuff like that. Like it is meant like at level where you start level one and you're already like a local hero. You're already like a powerful and stuff like that. So he's taking like complaint that people have about 5e, and he's doubling down on it, right? Like people say, "Oh, 5e is a superhero game." Well, now it's going to be even more so, right? But a lot of the design that he makes too, and that's more in the minutia, right? In the class feature and stuff like that, they're all stuff that are very gamey. But that's the thing.
Well, like
Matt Colville, what?
if you're leaning into that, if that's what you're going for, say that.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
he's open about it. Like I'm not
yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't think he hides it. Right? I don't think he's putting in something else. But Matt Colville, his favorite edition of D&D was the 4th edition, right?
Mm-hmm. The box set, I call it the most expensive dice I ever purchased.
The what? The box
Well,
set,
I bought the box set for 4th edition,
4th edition.
and the only thing I got any use out of from it was the dice.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah.
4th edition, I think it's like a functional game. It's not like badly designed in a sense, but it's very. Can you hear that? Like the cats
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
upset
it
at each
sounds like
other.
you got a fucking howling
Yeah, I got a
ghost
cat.
or...
I got a cat fight that is about to break up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Get out the
because
spritz bottle.
well, no, I just need to separate them just because like those two cats cannot be in the same room. And now like this one is coming and the other one is upset because the other one was already here. But he's all the way over there, right? Shouldn't be upset. He's being a bit overly dramatic. Marcus, it's all right.
Well, they are pussies.
Well, those are tomcats. They're two tomcats. So
I was making a woman joke.
yeah, wasn't like that's not the topic that we laugh about on this show.
What are you, a lying bastard?
I get a second person today to call me a lying bastard. The other one was Bear.
Yeah. With what?
What?
There are rules on this show?
No, because earlier today because he was asking me a Star Trek question and I said, well, I don't really know Star Trek. And
You lying
anyway.
bastard. I'm gonna reiterate that one.
I don't. But anyway,
back to the topic.
So Matt Colville, yeah, is open about it. Like his favorite edition is 4th edition, but I don't think that's true for a lot of his audience. And I think like his campaign is very successful. I think it's successful based on his personality, right? On his like the fact that people like like I often say like people that don't have a father figure in their life, like they look for them online. So and he got like the fatherly voice and the attitude, right? I don't know. So people like flock to him.
Like this.
Yeah,
I don't know, it just freaks me out about the guy, man, because he's a fucking literal potato with like.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you see him like standing up, yeah. Well, anyway, just
hey, I resemble
bod.
that.
If you want to be nice, we can say you got the dad bod.
No.
But anyway, that's neither here or there. That's beside the point. I think a lot of people like back his product because they like the guy, they like how he speak. He presents himself well in his video and stuff like that. He got a good delivery. I gotta give him that, right?
Yeah.
But they're gonna get the game, and they're gonna get something that they don't necessarily want to play. That they're gonna be disappointed about.
That's the thing. If he's and I seen him say that that's what he was going for 2 months ago or something like that. So he's saying that's what he's designing.
Yeah.
So it's not even buyer beware. It's like buyer open your eyes, right?
Yeah.
Like actually look at what's written right on the tin in bold letters right next to the title of the product. You
think this is AI art, or you think like
it could be this Black Knight dude. This might not be.
Yeah, this might not
Could
be
though.
You got some diversity there with the Black
Yeah.
Knight and the female dwarven fighter or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna get the
I don't know.
diversity
Like,
covered. And I know like he's also like a guy that write in Singular Day, right? Whatever.
singular day.
Yeah, he does the pronoun thing, right?
Oh,
Like gender neutral kind of bullshit. Hello, Phil, the
yeah.
Trill. Oh, you didn't.
Yeah.
I'm getting I hidden by a cat, but I guess that's better. You can see the fur. Alright, let me move that a bit.
I've got to set
So
this
yeah,
thing up so my mic is on the other side of me. It is hard to grab a teacup while,
oh yeah. So
especially
yeah, I think a lot of people are going to
especially
be like
since I actually use a
disappointed.
teacup.
Do you have like a
Bingo.
saucer with it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fancy. You're
Yeah.
a man of culture. We can tell that.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much to realize.
Well, the teacup does change the flavor of the tea, right? So,
Does it?
yeah.
Arun say I'm pretty black pill about the state of the hobby and Kickstarter. It's gross, but what can you just do? Have to live and let live. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. Like, I find it like it's interesting to talk about it. And the same thing, like Black Lodge Game made a video today. It was a very good video. I don't know if you saw it.
It was really good, and
Yeah.
he hit on the part I think I said last episode or on some show last week where there's like three different fucking resources you gotta keep track of just with
Yeah.
the expenditure of your die roll. The Oh, I don't remember what they were fucking called. I remember one was represented by circles and another one was represented by squares on the character sheet.
Ugh,
Yeah.
that's annoying.
Yeah.
But because that's the thing is those games that do very well based on the personality that put that face them based on the face,
Yeah.
right? And it's kind of like, for somebody that is like into game design and try to do something interesting and something cool, right? You see that it's kind of frustrating in a sense.
Yeah.
In a sense, I don't really care because like I don't share an audience with those people, so it's not like it's taking anything away from me, right?
But you wouldn't mind having those people's audience instead
No,
of them having them.
I wouldn't. But what I would like even better, because that's the thing too. When Darrington Press and Matt Mercer and company and
Yeah.
Matt Colville announced that they're working on some game. In a sense, I'm glad that they're doing something new, right? I like
But
people trying their hand at game design, right?
Yes, trying their hand at game design, but is
Yeah.
Koval doing something new if he's just rehashing 4th edition and then slapping the power levels of 5th on top of it?
No, I think he's doing something new.
Mm-hmm.
And in his approach, him and his co-designer James something, I forgot his name.
Mm-hmm.
They say like, well, we're starting from, and some people like took offense with that because they say like, oh, we're not gonna get bound by the tradition of the 70s and stuff like that. And we're gonna try modern design, try something. Yeah, I think that's fair. That's all right. Whoops, sorry, I had the space bar. But
it's all good by me.
yeah, but so he's saying like we're gonna go tabula rasa and do our design. We not let tradition influence our design, right? Go
Yeah.
from first principle and say what do we want to look for, what do we think is cool and stuff like that. And that's something I like. And the same thing with dagger art, right? When they say oh, we're gonna do 2d12 and the dice need to be different color, and which one's the biggest one matter. You add the both dice, but then which one on top of that, which one is our matter, right? It's like, it's something
Mhm.
like somewhat novel. And I
Yeah.
like seeing that. So in a sense, I respect that. And like in the case like Matt Colville, I find it like what is going for. I find it kind of lame. It's definitely not for me. That doesn't mean it's
It's
a bad design, though. I got to say that.
It's legitimately
Mhm.
revolutionary, which is something I was saying to you before, like in a previous episode of this show, back in the dark times of all the comments.
Yeah. Yes.
um, yeah, it's good to put out revolutionarily new designs and games
Well,
instead of just reprinting first or second edition of D&D with one or two extra rules.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. It's like I would say like innovative. Like to,
yeah,
to quote Bear, 50 years of innovation. No.
yeah, but like I have a brand I gotta stick on, so I use the word revolutionary instead.
Yeah, yeah. But I like seeing some innovation,
Hmm.
even though it's not for me. Because sometimes there's that thing as like something or just like pure bad game design, and
Yeah.
sometimes like it's not necessarily bad game design, but it's not what I'm looking for in a role playing game. It's not for
Well,
me. It's gonna be for some people. Like if some people like are more into like the game aspect, like you have the role playing game. There's a two part that sometimes can come into conflict. If you're more into the game aspect of thing, maybe it's
well,
gonna be for you. If you're into the power fantasy, maybe it's gonna be for you. I'm more into the role playing aspect of things. So and that brings us back to the topic of tonight. Like, well, I'm not gonna go back right there, but like that's kind of the idea I want to talk about between when the game aspect and the role play aspect kind of get into conflict, right? I'm gonna
well,
copy the link again in the chat if people want to join.
yeah, and that includes you, Bear.
Yeah, that includes you, Bear, even though what you say,
uh,
UL like that resolution for a few hours. Now you can move on.
you made me miss you and Connell talking about 13th Warrior there. Even though I was asleep
Already.
during that time period, I could have watched that tomorrow. Which should be right after this show.
Yeah.
Around
13
5
Warrior.
a.m.
I don't know how long
uh,
I'm gonna go tonight, but
well,
tomorrow
no,
is a
no, it's
rainy day,
just
so
the dark
tomorrow is probably gonna
times.
be a day off for me because it's gonna be
Uh,
rainy day. So
um,
I,
no, but it's like when I talk about Morkborg, because I'm contractually obligated to say the name. Um, people say it's half a game, and it's like, or it's not a whole game, and I ask why, and they say it's half a game, and then I never get a fucking follow up to that. Like, well, what? Oh, a game, and you can still see.
what? Yeah, but I didn't
Yeah,
read it yet, so I'll
ah,
see. It's very yellow. I can say that,
yeah, the
but
outside. There's a few yellow pages on the inside. Most of it's black and white with some
yeah,
splashes of pink here and there or whatever.
yeah. No, like
Uh,
they should sponsor this show.
definitely.
The number of
Um,
time you say that
but
free league.
like, w- what parts are missing? The parts that allow you to use it as a war game or a board game,
Yeah.
right? Like the everything you need a yes or no answer for, which is primarily what you need rules for in a role playing game, is to decide between yes or no, right? And then some gradient for challenge,
Mm.
and then everything else is you and the other players, including the game master, building the events through being the characters you are.
Is there
You
rule for
don't.
combat in it?
Yeah, there are.
Are there rules for PvP?
They're the exact same rules. Like, like if you turn to another player, you just treat them like the opposition. Well, that's how I would do it. That's how it should be done. It shouldn't
Well,
be, you know, like
welcome, Phil.
Phil.
Hello, hello.
Nice seeing you.
I got to turn off my thing again. All right. How you guys doing
Welcome.
today?
Surprisingly, I'm
Doing
actually
fine.
on
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and I'm doing well. I'm sleeping well lately. I
Yeah.
got a new I got a weighted blanket. I love it. I'm loving it.
A
Are those
weighted
good?
blanket?
Yeah, a weighted
It like
blanket. You don't know.
keeps you snug.
You keep you snug. Like you feel like you're being crushed while you sleep. It's very relaxing.
Is that like for like restless legs or something?
It's for like autistic kid.
Does it have triangles and squares on it in bright colors?
It's the natural evolution from a carnivore diet. You go right into
Yeah.
weighted blankets and
Yeah,
Things like
maybe I'm gonna get a little more swole while I sleep. You know, just tussling around. You have to move like
Smart.
this blanket that's like 80 pounds. I don't know. It's fucking heavy.
do you
You know
even,
what I'm
do you even
talking
lift in your sleep, bro?
Exactly.
Do you even lift in your sleep, bro?
Like all this time you're in bed is useless if you don't, man. Just like
That's true.
No, you just duct tape your hands to the pull-up bar.
well, that's not when you sleep, but that's a different topic.
Shout out to Bear. Love
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry if I ever shit on you. I think it was the one thing I've ever got angry at Bear about was the Dune game.
No,
Yeah, well, it's all right. You know, we're allowed to
I don't think
disagree.
that's what's going on.
I don't know
here.
if it's anger, but just like heated debate over the necessity of IP and your.
Hey, hello, Manowar.
Anyways, who cares?
Nice seeing you. It's a
not
Paris
worth
demand
talking
at Amazon next day. I'm missing something there.
Your weighted demon or your weighted blanket.
My way. Oh yeah, it's like a bar. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it feel great to be honest.
Sleep
Took me like I've
paralysis
been
on
looking for them
demand.
like for a while, but oh the blanket. Oh yeah. Took me a while, but like I said, you know, I'm gonna fucking try it. I need like a new blanket anyway since I move and stuff like that. You know, this kind of thing I change. I like to change when I move. I change everything. So I can leave my stuff behind.
I was running my game. I run my game every month or Tuesday, and I
Yeah.
saw the topic. And I was waiting for you guys to talk about it before I told you about how I realized what the hell you're talking about. Because remember, in the last one, I was like, "What is a mechanic that's ever gonna not allow you to role play?" And then I was having these guys roll all the time, and I was like, "Oh, this is it.
Yeah.
What the hell are we doing?"
Well, if there's something that can be resolved with, of course you can do that. There's no need for a die roll.
Yeah, but it was like a bunch of tests of balance and like whether they're gonna eat it in an athletics check or something.
Yeah, when there's like too much check, too much math, and it's like it's always a thing. Like, well, you can re-role play in any game and stuff like that, and like, yeah, okay, fair enough, right? Whatever. But some game does make it easier than other. Just like how it is, right? Can I share that? I want to share a little like a snippet here. I don't know if I would be able to.
Yeah,
And
I was thinking about
did you check the MCDM thing? You have any opinion on that?
I don't know what
The
that
MCDM
means.
RPG? The MCDM RPG?
Matt Colville.
Matt
Matt
Colville.
Colville. Potato with good hair. I've been mentioning his hair.
If you don't know, you don't
should
have an opinion. It doesn't matter.
You should get a mad scientist.
I'm ready to provide an opinion with no knowledge. Actually,
That's good.
Actually, I'm a very proficient at that.
That's the way of the internet.
Yeah. Sounds like this guy needs to read a book.
Whoa. We don't do that around here.
Did I nail it?
Mr. Max can't read.
Oh, you fucking won't be able to read that, eh? Like, can I zoom in? I can read. I just choose not to.
I have a giant monitor though. So
that's fucking useless. Fucking I can zoom on that. What is that?
Can you just do the whole?
I'm just not used with I'm just not used with Google Chrome. Oh, I should have shared the other one first. If I change, it's gonna change. No. Ah, man.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
I remember you posting this.
Yeah.
That's I was reading like a BRP, and I saw like those rules there, like for a special success and critical success. The other one I got here. If I need to fucking change the share screen.
I used to be a high school math teacher, and that's not the easiest math to do.
No, exactly. Like it's not the easiest math to do, especially since you need to do both of them, right? You need to do one for like regular success is going to be a
I guess
5%.
you just divide it by 2, but
You divide by 10 and you divide by 2 to get your 5%.
yeah.
The other one, and then you divide by 5, and then you
all you gotta
multiply
do
by
is-
2 to do
it's not
the
hard.
20%.
Yeah.
Why is
hard.
any of this is?
It's not hard for me, but I can imagine someone being intimidated by it.
But this is the point, right? Like, yeah, it can be done, but when I'm in the zone thinking about my character's personality and whatnot, this stuff, I'm out. I'm out of the zone because I'm not
Just for some
thinking
context,
about my character's
for some context for
anymore.
people listening, like that's from BRP, right? The basic role playing game, and which I'm a big fan of Pendragon, which Pendragon use a modified version of BRP, which from what I've read so far is like 100 times better because you got none of that fucking bullshit there in Pendragon. And in BRP, it's a percentage dice it's a skill based game where you roll under your skill a percentage. So let's say that you're like 67, right, for your stealth skill, whatever. Then you need to roll like below 67 to succeed, or below equal. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But if you roll not under 5%, but under 5% of 67, you get a critical success.
Yeah, it's not even that it's math; it's irrelevant math, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
So
a
how do you get the
mechanic so poorly
67?
designed.
I don't get it.
What?
On
You're saying
67 is just like
chance of your success is 67.
I'm just using an example. 67 is an example. Like that could be your skill, because if you would say like, well, if you roll under 5%, that's a critical success. That'd be one thing, But no, now you have to say like, no, it's under 5% of your skill, right? So now, like,
I mean,
that's kind of annoying to
3.35 is.
do.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
doing it.
But
it's pretty shit.
My favorite system, Morkborg here, uses a test system where, unless stated otherwise, everything you need to get is a 12 or higher on a d20.
Yeah.
Like for everything. And your stat is a modifier, not a base number, right? So there's no 12 plus 2. It's just plus 2 or negative 2, right? So that plus whatever you get on your die, if that equals 12, is a success.
Okay.
Yeah, you basically like just got rid of the 3 to 18.
Yeah, you're cutting out the extra step of numbers that aren't really relevant.
Do that, or aren't they going to do that?
I
think I heard
maybe
in the move away from
a few
D&D.
games did that. Dungeon and Delver did that. Yeah, but
I think Pathfinder recently announced they're going to move away from everything D&D. And I think that was part of their change.
And that's the thing in BRP that we're talking about here. You have to do 2, because you have like the critical success at 5% of your skill and the special success at 10% of your skill, and you have a bunch of skill, right? You have a lot of skill in the game, and every skill is going to be different. So for every skill, you have so many skill that it's not really practical to calculate in advance every threshold in which you're gonna have like special success or critical success. So you kind of have to do it on the fly. But it's not easy to do on the fly, and it does take you out of the moment. It does take you out of the role play, right?
It's definitely gamey. Like if you're a gamer and you're playing a stupid game, then you can do that.
Yeah, see, Arun say if I have to calculate percentage, I'm not playing your game.
I'm sharing the whole ability screen for you on.
It's the same thing, and it would be like the old school modifier that goes from -3 to +3.
Yeah. And like if
the
you're
range
looking
for everyone is get wider.
So there's 4 abilities.
Yeah, but it handles everything you need, right?
Sure, I guess.
Like
whatever.
If you need another ability, Like,
it take out a bit the like there's no intelligence ability, and there's no
well, it's kind of in
Yeah, like
perception.
knowledge.
presence. Yeah, presence.
Presence with perceive and
Yeah,
but like,
It's not intelligence at all. That's wisdom.
yeah, but you don't really need
it's
it.
kind of like a
If you
presence.
want to
Kind of
play
seems to be like
a dumb character, just play your character dumb.
yeah.
If you want to play a smart character, just play your character. Like, that's role playing.
But I'm saying there's no like lore stat. There's no like I know about this spell stat.
No. Spells in this are done through scrolls, and if you can read them, you can read them.
But what I'm
And if
saying
you
is
can't read
there's
them,
no
it's because you're
knowledge
illiterate.
stat.
Mhm.
There is no knowledge stat. So like if
No.
you were, hey, would I know
No.
this? Then it's
No.
it's either
Which
yes or
is
no from
good.
the GM or
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's something that Pendragon does as well. Pendragon have no intelligence stat, but in the same time, they say like you're playing a human knight. You're not playing a wizard, right? Like it's not a big deal.
Mhm.
Your intelligence it's not a big part of what you do in life.
Yeah.
Then it's how you want to role play it in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rules, the whole book is, I think, 110 pages or something like that, and that's including the module that it comes with, the adventure.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can skim through it for what little lore there is in the world, and the rest you just make up with your party along the way.
But it's
They don't
not a
have normal
matter
page
of what
numbering.
world building. It's a matter of testing to see if your character knows something. That you're talking about the abilities. I'm saying
Yeah.
that is a gap in the abilities. If you
It
wanted
can
that to be an
be.
ability.
For me, I wouldn't see it as that, because I'm of the opinion that you do the if your player says something is there, it's there, unless it's intentionally
Yeah.
world breaking, right?
Yeah.
If your
Yeah,
player
you let
says
player contribute.
there's a
That's
small
interesting.
town over the
Yeah.
ridge. I was there when I was a child. There's a small town over the ridge.
So are lore
Yeah.
skills by design immersion breaking? would you
They
say?
can be. They can be
Maybe
a lot
not
of the
by
time.
design, but
It depends how you play them, because the lore skill they can lead to the player asking question to the GM, which we know it's a big no.
forbidden.
Which is like
I don't even like eye contact, actually.
well, all my excuses for not having a camera are now officially
Yeah. No, but when we say that, it's like the player asking the GM a question instead of like the character interacting with the world or the character
Yeah, I
asking a
understand.
question to NPC, right? That's
It's
the
tough
the
to it's
big
tough to
difference.
do that with a lore skill for sure.
Exactly when you have a lore skill, it does lend to, oh, do I know that, or roll your knowledge region, stuff like that, which
But I mean, you could say like, I think back on my knowledge of some shit.
yeah, exactly, like I'm saying, that's what I'm
And
saying. It's
and
not
you don't
necessarily
need to
like
roll for that.
do I remember
intrinsically
anything about? But that is a question. So I guess it's like, and try to remember if it's just
Yeah.
all. It's all
There's
semantic
better
a
way to
little
do
bit,
it.
but
There's better way to do it, and also like if you like I like to have my setting, like I'm gonna have like the big line, but they're fairly loosely designed so the player can contribute to it as well, right? Because we're creating this world and this story together, so you're the player co-creator. And sometimes, and I know like we often say like, well, the player only roll when the GM tell them to. This is the rules with a good group that I'm willing to break 100%, right? I'm gonna say like if I'm playing with people that I know role player, I can say you can make your own role, you don't have to ask me for it, and then interpret the role yourself. It's kind of almost like GM yourself. I'm gonna contribute. I'm gonna tell you what happened in the world, how the world react to your action. I'm gonna role play the NPC and stuff like that. But you can basically GM yourself. If you want to know something about the world, if you want to know if you know something about the world, you can roll your fucking lore or knowledge check and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't need to tell me. You look at the result, and then based on the result, you decide if your character knows that or not, right?
Well,
And if it does, you can add something. You can make it so in the world, right? Just if you're in the line, if you know where you're going, I wouldn't do that with any group. It's to use with very like care, but
it's much more like because in this 4D method,
yeah,
you're not really doing a lot of exposition, right? Outside, like there's no out of the moment descriptions really going on. Almost.
Well, you should be trying to avoid that as much as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
you can
That's
do
what-
some
like a lore skill.
you
kind
do
of
some
stuff.
exactly you do some like at the beginning of the campaign, basically, like you say like, oh, here's the world, here's the
Sure.
conflict in the world, here where we start. Okay, now you're in the moment, now like the description happened, but you try to avoid the lore dump and stuff. And that's why I was saying, like, like a company like Describe, that they give you professionally pre-written little description. Like they would never sponsor me because that go against what I promote, right?
No one's ever going to sponsor you because you don't think you should buy anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
It's like, here's another fucking worthless piece of shit.
if you had like if you had something that
Maybe a character artist, maybe like an artist.
Yeah. Or if you had something that could create like general tenors of adventure paths, you could do that. But like, what's the point? If I want a 4-room dungeon for Morkborg, they have a generator on the website that you just click. And it gives
What's the point, Morkborg? That's the
Exactly.
Hey, I got a
Constant
brand
meme.
here, okay? It's kind of a meme, all right?
Yeah. So like, but you have
I'm gonna ban that
Rex,
word. Yeah.
in your games,
I'll break the ban.
you design your game with or don't design, I don't know, whatever your process is. You have
I would
like,
call it
you have
design.
like an
So-
antagonist. No, I don't mean like design
Oh,
a game.
you're not talking
I mean,
about the
like,
game I'm writing.
as a GM,
Okay,
as
a campaign, yeah.
yeah. So you will
Yeah.
have like an antagonist kind of fleshed out at least.
Yeah.
That's gonna show up and fuck shit up occasionally.
There's
Well-
there's gonna be some conflict in the world, but it's also like
Yeah.
like I try to leave like the like, and usually if I start a campaign, usually what I'm gonna do, there's gonna be a conflict in the world that's gonna be like a little bigger than
I just want to say I'm glad I'm finally getting you to say what a GM should do. So I've been
Yeah.
waiting for you to do it.
Oh,
Yeah,
gonna have,
that's always been a thing around
It's never really been your goal. But go ahead.
say what the GMs should do. No, okay, no.
Yeah,
I
you're
think
more
I've
of a
talked about
game
it.
designer like channel than I would say than like a how to GM channel. Is that
Yeah,
fair?
I think that's fair. Well, especially like lately, like because like I'm a game design nerd. Like I'm really into it, right? I like to think about it a lot and stuff like
Sorry,
that.
I derailed the thing I was happy you were doing. By the way.
And
No,
I
it's
just
alright.
try to be the
We'll
voice
get
of the
back to it.
audience.
But like what I like to do as a GM when I create a new campaign, right? Let's just say that I'm gonna create a world very vaguely, and usually I'm gonna say it's X but Y. So it's medieval England during the Civil War, but they're different fantasy race, but there's magic. But you just like
Yeah.
you take something that's familiar enough for the player so they can make assumption about the world, and that all those assumptions be true, right? You can say it's Star Wars, but there is no empire, whatever. You make something that is familiar enough that they already have an idea.
Yeah. You give them a tenor.
Firmly enough that they can make what? Sorry?
You give them a tenor to run off of, like
Yep.
a flavor, a tone, right?
Yeah. So now they can make assumption about the world that those assumptions are gonna be true, right? You can make those assumptions stand. I often say, like, if you go to a medieval village, you don't need to describe, you don't need to plan everything that you're gonna have in this village, because you're gonna have like normal thing you would find in the medieval village. You don't need to describe every freaking shop. If they say like, oh, I want to go see the cobbler or whatever, like there's gonna be a cobbler, right? Most likely, it's all right, right? They don't know where it is, so if you just say I want to see the cobbler, then well, you want that one thing doesn't do shit, right? Tell me what you do.
Well, I hope you walk up a block or two and then take a left, because otherwise,
if it's a new place that you just show up, you need to ask an NPC or something like that, and then you can just say, well, I asked a guy on the street nearby, and then like I didn't say there was a guy on the street nearby, but the fact that you can add that to the world just by saying that you interact with somebody on the street
It's
also makes
obvious.
the world feel more populated, right?
Yeah, it's obvious that you're in a town that there will probably
Yeah.
be people around, unless it's like you walk into town at 2 in the morning, hope the
Yep.
guard at the door, or if it's a walled town or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, in front of these two worlds, they always seem to be fucking walled towns for some reason.
Well, if it's a big town,
But
no,
my
if it's a big enough
question,
town, it's gonna be walled. Yep.
my question is more specifically, what high resolution like elements of your, not gonna call it a campaign,
You're
but
well,
Sorry,
yeah, campaign is not.
Do you
not
mean
bad.
Do you have any high
session by
resolution?
per session? When
No.
I don't
mean,
have a high
overall.
resolution. I don't have a high resolution planned out because we're gonna figure that out as we go, right?
Well,
Alright,
it's
You have
like
nothing that's high resolution, like a main antagonist or
well,
not really.
catastrophe
Not
that's not there.
not at the start of the campaign. I might like
Okay.
that's gonna like what I'm trying to do is something fairly mundane, right? There's a
Mhm.
war going on, so it's
yeah.
the war is gonna impact the everyday life of the people. It's not gonna impact you directly, but it's something you can interact with in different manner later on. You can either like participate in the war, do some work for one side, for the other, try to broker a peace, but that's the character to decide if they want to interact with this element. It's just a conflict in the world. I like what the Macris say a lot, and this is probably something I'm going to try to integrate. Having like a obvious threat and a hidden threat that could be interesting as well. So there's a war in the world that distract the people, but there's also this other thing that's happening in the background that is more mystical
like
and
a
stuff like that.
cult or a secret society or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
But it's also like have follow through, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you created a cult that's going to raise a demon. I've used this scenario before on the show. You have a cult that's going to raise a demon on the seventh full moon of the year or some shit like that.
It sounds really high resolution.
Yeah, that is. You've got that. You created that as the game master. Your party has found out about this, right? You have that date written down on a piece of paper. You can ballpark when that moon is going to be, judged by how your characters are moving around. And if they choose to interact with that, fine. They can stop the cultists. If they choose not to interact with that, well, 2 counties over, there's a fucking demon chewing up the woods. You know?
But when you mean high resolution, like this kind of thing, like if I want to
Just
go
really,
keep with this,
oh yeah, okay. We're doing that vocabulary word thing again.
But
What I mean is something that is firmly placed in your world that you have really fleshed out.
oh, look at that, Crispy. Hi, nice seeing you, man.
4D, and I just jump right in. I was like,
4D.
talking
You're
about
Well, you're right.
Where's
too.
the fourth D? Right here, guys.
here he is. Here he
Yeah.
is.
Crispy?
That's the one.
So yeah, so something that did you listen what we were talking about? Or do
I
you want
was,
us
yeah.
to?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
So-
was listening.
This high resolution, like I think there's something that can it's not something that I plan long in advance, right? To keep the example of like the cultist, like if you need some opposition there that's gonna happen, like okay, the player figure out cultists, they fight them, they talk to them, then the cultists say like, oh, are we gonna raise this fucking demon? And you don't need to plan in advance. Just as the cultists say it, now it becomes a thing. And now like and in between session after that, you can say like, well, you know what? Okay, now this is a thing. Now you take note on that, and this thing stand in the world. And I'm a big advocate of like playing with a calendar. So
Yeah.
every time like there's a rest day that's taken and stuff like that, or they're traveling for 3 weeks, you mark those day off. If something say like, okay, this demon is gonna be raised in 2 months, then you can put the date on like when it's gonna happen, and then like the world keep going, right? When the character do other stuff, and the character like you always have if you don't have time, if you don't keep time of
Oh,
time,
absolutely. Absolutely,
keep
Max.
track
You
of
have
time,
time
you
pressure.
can-
Yeah.
yeah.
Time pressure is important.
That doesn't mean time in game is always moving at the same speed, right?
Of course
Like,
not.
it's
Of course not.
No.
Sometimes I'm reiterating stuff for the audience. That's why.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we are streaming this. It is out there and capable
So
of being
Just in
watched.
case anyone's wondering, we're streaming
Yeah.
this.
Hello,
for the
Nunya.
folks at home.
Well, a lot of times people do these things and they pay no attention to the fact that there's potentially an audience that might get
What?
lost, right?
An audience.
Well, we also have a live
I'm
chat.
out.
If the audience is lost, feel free to ask question in the live chat. You know, I try to keep an
Yes,
eye on
but
it.
6 months from now.
I find that
then there's
most
the
of my
comment
big-
section.
most of those big things, like the cultists and the demons, I'm finding that most of the time those spawn in my world because the players are like, "Oh, that doesn't make any sense." When I describe something, I'm like, "Oh crap, that
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. Why does it make sense?"
And that's
Like,
fair.
oh, there's clearly a vampire running around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a fair way to do it. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that.
you just run with that, right?
And they're like, "Oh shit, I should have trusted my gut." Like, yeah, for sure.
Is your
That
party
was weird.
actually the cause of
use-
darkness in the world?
And
little
use what the player feed you. Sometimes the player is gonna hypothesize on something and then say like, well, then they're right. You know, you don't need to tell them, but then you just run with it, right?
You
And
say
then if
that
you're
is
smart,
weird.
And you also got to embrace the fact that there are,
Except
if
ideally
your
they're not
players
zombies.
are doing this kind of work, there are probably other people doing this kind of work that some of that stuff can be resolved by.
Yeah.
You know?
I just wrote a demon cultist one shot. Did I just do a cliche? Because it sounds like everybody's done that. Yeah.
I mean, that's how you get demons.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with demon cultists.
I just saw Demons. What was it? Demon Rides Out or whatever, an old Hammer thing, and I thought, well, I'd do it for Hollywood, for Halloween. So I wrote it for Halloween.
Actually, just summon demons in my game.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it was to feed a dragon because he likes to eat them.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's unique. Yeah, that's good.
And the vampire wants to feed on the dragon.
Oh,
It's
that
it's a big food chain going.
it's a big
on.
Yeah,
cycle.
it sounds like circle of
The
life.
Cycle of life. Circle of life.
He's like, I don't want you to leave, dragon, so I'm going to summon a bunch of yummy.
just
demon
like
grapes
in
for you.
The Lion King.
I never saw it.
It's a classic.
Well, there's a vampire.
Of course.
And
Yeah, I
the
was
dragon.
Which one's Simba in the scenario?
I never had children, so
You were a child when that came out.
no, I was too old when it came out.
Yeah.
Too old and cynical. Also, I've never really been a child. I was born old.
Yeah.
Old soul.
Something about me. Yeah, I was born old and very serious.
And here you are,
Did that-
old and playing
Yeah.
a game.
Yeah.
Wasn't that 1990?
But I take
How
the game
old were you
seriously.
in 1994?
There you go. That's good. Yeah, that's
There you go.
as you should. As you should. It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, if you want to get, I hope I hope that answered the question somewhat. Phil, like, do you have like any follow up on that? What I think the GM should do? Was that clear enough? Did I
lost
brought
him.
any answer? All right, yeah. So how you doing, Crispy and Nunia? Nice seeing you again.
Thank you.
If I was doing any better, there'd be a second of me.
Already.
Oh,
That'd be
just
better.
doing
It'd be
fantastic.
better for all of us.
Yeah. No, well,
More
I don't
crispy
know
to
about
go
that.
around.
Doing fantastic.
Imagine those roleplay session you could have.
Oh yeah, that's
Would that be
wow. We
considered
gotta
like
get
a
going on
solo,
that. Yeah.
That's the wrong kind of role play.
Now.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, holidays are nice, but they're killing my business. So I kind of got flushed out of playing games this weekend. So I was a little, been in a
around
snit.
there.
So I thought I'd jump in and have some contact because dealing with Twitter all the time is making me.
Oh yeah. You gotta get off that. No, I just heard that a longtime player of mine, one that we've had for nearly 17 years, who had to be off the game for a while because of dialysis schedules. He just got that changed, and now he's back in the game this Tuesday. So he's sending me his character. We're jumping back in 1970s Italian mafia campaign group. It's just going to be awesome. And so he sent me. I'll show it to you. He sent me his character. He wants to be the wheelman, kind of gearhead. And so he's going to be Fast Tony. And so I made him his little Fast Tony, Anthony Rizzo, Fast Tony. It's going to be great. So
that's cool.
He's all set, ready to go. And I'm excited to have him back. He's one of our better role players. So it's going to really help. I find that once you get someone that's really excited about being in character all the time, then it's contagious and it rubs off in a good way. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the other one, the other side is true as well. Like when
Oh, of
people,
course,
like,
yeah. If you have someone that's just going to ask a question every time it's their turn, yeah, not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I like my favorite system, Morpork.
Here's some of these other ones here. I'll just show it to you. But the youngest guy is playing the old guy, an old hitman, Giovanni. So
Does he
yeah,
know how to
it's
make the
pretty
sauce good?
oh yeah, he's got his own special sauce. It's not called sauce though; it's called gravy. You
Yeah,
understand?
sorry,
Italians.
I'm an
it's
idiot. Yeah.
Important.
Yeah.
It's gravy. Anyway,
Is it made with anchovies?
Get in here. You might learn something.
I'm having
there's
trouble
secret
finding
sauce.
fucking
You don't
anchovies.
give away Nona's secret sauce.
Yeah.
Like that's
Secret is just
That's
a pinch
a-
of sugar. Everyone knows that.
yeah, that's right.
Well,
The
you
secret
need
is just
that for-
Prego, right? Like you just take the or whatever it is. I don't
It's
know
a
what it
can
is
of
down in the
Prego.
States. But yeah, that's the secret. You just add a little bit of oregano to like the stuff right out of the can.
Yeah, a bit of a harissa sauce. That's my secret.
What
I like
sauce?
the harissa.
Oh, Risa, the blue can, the
Yeah.
half blue can.
Well, it comes in
Or-
different package, but
Yeah,
Yeah, they got a
it's
green one.
it's
and a yellow
pepper
one.
paste basically.
Yeah, it's pepper paste. Yep.
Yeah, it's
My
pepper
ex-mother-in-law put sugar in her spaghetti. Oy.
paste. You need to
That
put
Well,
some
you have to cut
sugar
the acids a little bit,
exactly,
right?
like to
Yeah.
balance the acidity of the tomato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a little
That's
bit.
what the anchovies are for, bro.
Anchovies, man.
Anchovies.
I don't eat fish. So.
You don't eat fish?
Oh,
I don't
that's
eat
why the
fish.
women don't like them.
Interesting. Is it the
Wow,
mercury or something?
No, I just no. I'm just
don't
like
like it?
I grew up with a phobia of fish. Phobia of
yeah.
fish.
Do you think
Every
if you
day's
had a-
Friday for you?
If it was rational, then
Yeah.
it
No,
would
it's the
not be a
opposite.
phobia. So
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
curious
Yeah.
about how you get a phobia of cooked fish. Is it
Well,
the
it was
bones?
all fish. It was all like I couldn't. I used not to be able to swim in open water because of fish. But I got better, so now I can. I love swimming in open water nowadays. So
Yeah.
maybe one day I'll get to eat fish, but I'm still working on that. It's a fucking weird thing.
What about
weird
tuna,
fact
tuna
about like
salad?
no,
I mean, that's not
Yeah.
going to eat you.
the concept of fish threw me off. Anyway,
all right, so this
So
is
we now know
a
what to do.
culinary
Phil, I was
delight, but can we
I'd much
can we
rather
talk about the
explore
game?
the
Otherwise,
fish.
I'm out of here.
yeah.
Well,
Phil, I wanted to.
We are. You now
Yeah.
now know what to throw at Mr. Max in a role playing game.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. I
exactly.
guess.
Yeah, could it do
Yeah,
our,
look, so we'll
our
put the fire
game?
on.
Except
you
that he's
fucking
not
send
playing
the fish at
himself
me.
because he's going to be immersed in a different character that loves eating fish.
But you know, when we talk about horror, and you always say, well, we kind of want to. If you want to do horror, you kind of have to reach the player behind the character. What do you believe in that? You think that's
I
true?
was thinking about that question. I'm sorry.
I think it will happen. I think it will happen naturally as the player is getting closer to considering their character as a real character. Then they start to feel the emotions as they would imagine that character would feel. So I don't think that it's necessary in 4D play. I don't think it's necessary to try to shock the player. You're trying to shock the character, and the
I agree with
players
that.
are behaving as if that character is real, so they'll respond in a realistic way.
I often say that when you're truly in the role-playing phase, like, you replace your mindset with the mindset of the character, and you align
right.
your emotional state with the emotional state, and there's gonna be a damper, obviously, because you're not him, you're not there. It's a game, but
Well, and as
your
you pretend to be
emotional
scared,
state,
you'll get
exactly,
that
it's gonna be
state.
aligned to
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Leo or something was on here when y'all were talking about horror games. I think his name Leo or something like that.
I was talking about porn games.
Horror?
Oh, horror games. Oh, it's Dan, no? Dice Tale.
I don't remember. But you guys were talking about how it's not the purpose of the horror game to scare the player or something like that. And I was
Are you
thinking
talking
like
about Tyler, maybe?
I thought his name was Leo, but
I don't know any Leo.
sorry. I don't remember their name.
Anyway,
It was a game designer. But anyways, they're saying that it's not
Oh.
the purpose of a horror game to scare the player, but it is the purpose of a horror movie to scare the audience, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
who's the audience in a role-playing game?
Is there an
Is there
audience?
an audience? It's a totally different medium, I guess, but I guess I'm
think
just
there is
kind
an
of thinking,
audience.
should you be trying to parallel your game with a movie? Like, or is that just two totally separate things?
I think so. I think it is. I think that the effects that people use in order to elicit emotion from an audience is different from people. You know, it's not like a Hollywood movie is an improv. And if you were gonna liken role playing to a form of theater, I would imagine would be closer to improv, wouldn't it? I'm not much of an actor myself, but I think that's probably more the case. So you want to focus on the people that like Crispy says, you want to get after the fears of the character versus the fears of the people or anybody that's watching, if there is an audience at all, right?
Yeah.
I have to say, you'd already mentioned this video once, but Black Lodge Games did an absolutely phenomenal video. This absolute demasking of some game that just came out. I'm not at all interested in.
Yeah, I want to go back to it to that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
he gives a great description at around the 10-minute mark of what role playing is, and it's just it's concise. He's obviously given it some thought. This is Matt over at BLG, and it's concise. It's also, in my opinion, very accurate because it's not a storytelling. We often get that. We're not the aim of the game is not storytelling. Storytelling will result, but it's not the aim. And
it's not storytelling. It's like story creating almost.
Yeah, it's an emergent story, but we don't go into it saying, okay, now we're entering the next chapter. Okay, now you're going to put the next thing into this chapter, and then we're going to go into this. Oh, okay, we're going to have that escalating problems and mini resolutions that reveal a bigger problem until we finally get to the climax and the denouement and all of that. But that's not what we're doing. And he points that out. And I think that's really important to keep in mind, that we're not trying to, I'm not sitting around and like, okay, guys, let's tell a story now. That's not really what role playing is. It's not accurate to say that. It's more accurate to say you're trying to, you're playing someone in a fictional simulated world. You're playing that and you're trying to make that as real as possible. And then a story will happen as there's conflicts that arise, but those conflicts many of them will only have the broad strokes of it. And then, like Phil was saying, just the broad strokes. Yeah, there's something that's trying to do this and he's doing it over there. But it's not accurate to just, and I see this so often when I say someone try to describe role playing to me, and they'll say things like, well, it's storytelling. Well, but not really. Not really.
Yeah.
It's kind of, a lot of times I hear people describe role playing games as you're basically improv in a game. But I think that is a mistake, because I've never really basically I just made this connection. But that's the game. What you're describing is the simulation, and it's like you're able to enter the simulation, and then interacting with that simulation is the game.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with the rule or that.
And I had a great comment on one of my videos recently about this topic, and he pointed out, he said, look, what you're talking about really is more of an improv, that you're encouraging people to improv and doing so in a way that adds to the world. So I'm encouraging players to imagine the world is real. Well, in a real world, you would expect to see X, Y, Z in whatever context. And so you can just imagine that that's there, and you can create it there. And so he said, well, that sounds more like an improv thing. And I think there is an element of improv in good role playing. You do have to improv. It's not a bad word, but it's the improv is still nested within the system itself. So there's still dice involved. And there's still a game master. There's still, like, the game master still has veto on things. That's important. So I still think it's not just we're sitting around and it's whose line is it anyway. Like, we're not playing whose line is it anyway.
Because that's the thing I would say about like the question I would say with improv theater is improv theater still plays to an audience. And in improv theater, you have there's a competition aspect to it, like where you're trying to get the laugh, where you're trying to pull your story on your side. Like in role-playing game, you're supposed to be much more collaborative, and there is no audience. Like RPG Grandma was saying, like the players are audience and player in ones. I always say, like, the player are not the audience, they're the co-creator. Like, I see a lot of GM trying to make the player the audience. I think that's a mistake. They're supposed to be a co-creator. if you want to go in the 40 kind of role playing game, at least, you want to get them like involved and get them to contribute to the world and stuff like that. And like I said, they are controlling the protagonist of the story that we're creating and telling at the table, and that's a big deal. It's a big part of the story.
I think that's the heart of what we're kind of getting around, is that this isn't it's its own animal. Like, you're not trying to tell a story. You're playing a role-playing game. You're not trying to play a game. You're trying to role-play. Like, I don't know. It's just you can't really compare it with anything else, because it's
it's
the
its
way
own
you should
thing.
approach it is so different than anything else.
And it is a game, and so there is going to be mechanics and rules, and this is how you interact with it, and those are all important. That's the those are foundational elements, but it's not the goal of the game, in my opinion, to just create the story. I think it's like the goal is to get to that point in your own head where that character is real to you, and then you know how that character would react without having to think, well, what would my guy do? You just kind of know, okay, that's cool. That's what I'm aiming for. That's what I want to see.
But Arun said, I don't think it makes sense to take the game out of our RPGs.
Of course not.
There are other ways to do. Yeah, exactly. I think we all agree on that. Yeah, it is still a game. We still need to, the rules are part of the game, and the randomness and stuff like that, and the way we interact with it, right? Just saying.
But I think thinking about it as a game, not just as the rules makes it a game, but more entering into the simulation and interacting with the world is the game.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
I've explained every game, no matter if it's RPG or otherwise, trying to explain to people that it is a simulation. Even if it's something fictional, like sci-fi, where people go, well, it doesn't matter if it's not realistic, it's still sci-fi. But there is a simulation in that there's a set of parameters inside that sci-fi reality, Star Wars with the Force and the lightsabers, whatever it is. And you set that up first, and that's your boundaries of how you interact. And then everything else is the people just, as you're saying, being their character and doing what they would do within that simulation, that boundary, as it were.
Yeah, you need to have your world need to have some kind of self-consistency, so you can and so the boundaries are defined and the player can bounce out of them, and they're kind of firm. When something is defined, it stays so and then the player can make assumption based on that. Otherwise, you're going to go back to the mother may I question all the time.
And then, Max, I think that also important is that as you're doing this simulation, you don't want to have mechanics in your game that are actively working against that. So if the goal is to have that realism in the sense of I'm trying my best to make this character real, so believable, real within the world. If the mechanics are working actively against that effort, then I think they're a bad mechanic. So the title of your mechanics that get in the way of roleplay. There are some mechanics out there that I think just get in the way of it. So you're doing all the right things in what I would consider excellent play. You're in the headspace of that character. You're taking initiative. You're active. You're talking to the other player characters in character, which is so hard to maintain. But if your group can do that, and you're doing all those things, and then you have to pull away from that and do some other kind of mini game mechanic, then I think it becomes even harder to do that. And then you get, well, it's okay because we're just making a story. No, that wasn't what we initially intended to do.
So then the rules aren't the game then in that situation.
In that sense,
they have to be
they're not harmonious with the intent. Yeah.
Rules are there to arbitrate the what ifs.
Yes. Yes, exactly, Justin. So the rules are there so that when something comes up, there's some way. And this is my understanding from Matt's video, is that what is it called? I'm going to get it wrong.
Candela Obscura.
Yes, that one. I'm not going to ever say that, but whatever. It's that one. It's they didn't even think of things that would require rules, or they have rules that just assume that you. So let's assume I pick up that game. I never will, but let's assume I pick up the game, Yeah, sorry.
Just if for people watching, if you haven't seen the Black Lodge game video that they released today, so it's really worth a watch. It's a short video, so like 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Shortish
Yeah.
video.
It's worth your
Yeah.
time.
It's worth your time. It's a great video.
Mm-hmm.
And they really touch. It's like it's about like this game, but they really touch about something that is essential to the hobby.
Yeah.
I really recommend it. So go ahead, Crispy.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. You know that this is what I do when I come on here.
Right,
It's
man,
terrible. But what I was going to say, Max, is, and others, is that their criticism of the game is that the mechanics of the game don't allow for the that seamless interaction within the world. Because if I have a seamless if the mechanics, if they're well written, should allow me as a character in the game to interact in as many degrees of freedom as possible. But that game doesn't even have mechanics that I can even interact with NPCs, or I can't interact with other characters. And when that happens, then it's just supposed to be ad hoc things that you just pull out of your behind at the last second. You know, that's an example of mechanics that are going to work against good role play, because you don't have that, like Justin was saying, you don't have that mechanic to that everyone can understand, that's consistent, so that you can resolve things that come up as they come up, and not have to make ad hoc things all the time. I don't know. Is there any? We have no idea. There's not even any way of telling what damage is done. And do we even have damage in this game? And what does that work? And what about death? How does that work? Like I think that is really good criticism, and it does speak to this thing, mechanics that get in the way. And in that case, it's an absence of mechanics that is getting in the way of that game. They just didn't even finish it.
Well,
if you always go ahead.
So say we were talking earlier at the beginning of the stream about PvP and how I mentioned in Morkborg you could do it, and people were saying
that's why I was asking.
Yeah. Well, say in that game, Morkborg, if I was attacking Crispy, and I said, okay, I'm going to run up behind Crispy and stab him with my sword, I would roll D20, and if that number plus my strength stat equal 12, I'd hit him for whatever my weapon die roll is in damage. I don't have to look for a special chart. That's the same mechanic I'd use against a monster or anything else in the world. Just I'd switch the stat number on the 4 stats for whether it was ranged or climbing or whatever, right? If I was casting the spell, it's always the same thing. I don't have to think about it, right? It's what's the stat for that thing on this same die equals the same number, unless specifically stated otherwise, right? It's always the same mechanic every single time, and it's designed to break you, designed in such a way that prevents you from breaking out of character the most elegantly I've ever seen.
Dice. I love dice comments.
Oh, nice too.
Also, I have to bring up
sir?
Morkborg because it's the meme.
Oh, yeah.
Morkborg.
Well,
So is
I'll have a review at some point on this channel. I'll fucking read it. I bought it. I'll fucking read it.
That'll be the end of your friendship with Justin right there. That's it. That'll be shots fired.
Like
what the fuck is this 12?
But like it's the same. Like if I was surprising him, I wouldn't roll initiative. But if I was facing him, right, if like we chose to fight, you'd then just roll off and whoever got the highest.
Yeah.
It even says that like.
So is that better, having like a simple one size fits all rule?
Well,
Like
if
I think
that is
unified mechanics in general are better mechanics, because otherwise you have to think of many different. It's all the rules are context driven, and that can be a bit of a challenge, I think.
You start thinking about the rules and not what your character's doing.
Exactly. If you have a
It's
lot
like
of
when you teach a new person to play. Yeah. When you teach a new person to play, you just tell them what you say. You just describe what your character is doing. That's all you have to do. Don't worry about like I'm gonna. Hopefully, you'll learn the rules if we're playing a game that makes any sense at all. But
Better on Crispy's table. He doesn't have any patience.
I don't know. Okay,
Well, one
we'll
of the
see.
things that I tried to been looking at trying to do with the rules thing is it came out of the whole rules is written versus rule zero thing.
Mhm.
And there's a couple of things with, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into that because that's a whole nother thing. But there was people that to me, they took rule zero as meaning, let's just take every rule and throw it over our shoulder. F it. We'll just make it all up as we go. And I didn't see it that way. What I see is kind of a free Krieg spiel. If you're, I'm normally probably only war gamer here, so I might be going into a different territory.
No,
but
you're not.
Oh, never mind. Okay, well there was Verdi and there was von Reiswitz, and there was von Reiswitz was very hardcore on the rules, and Verdi was totally chill. But the difference is with Verdi there was rules. It just was that they had people that were experienced, that had played before, and they would arbitrate the rules. And as you guys are saying, you talk to the players and you go, well, what do you want to do? As far as how that's arbitrated, as far as how the procedures mechanically, that's all handled by the judge. You don't have to learn them. You don't even have to know them. Just tell me what you want to do.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm trying to do. Because then I get people that approach these games and do you want to play Star Wars? Well, I would, but Star Wars has got these shitty rules or whatever. Okay, now that doesn't matter anymore because all you have to do is just jump into Star Wars. Be the Jedi you want to be. I'll handle the rules. Don't worry about them. And that's kind of where I'm going with it.
You see, if you take like the music example, like I like classical music, also like jazz and bossa nova and stuff like that, which could be say like a form of jazz. But I like when people I like music where you can tell like the performer clearly know the rule of music and knows when to break them. Right? He's not gonna stick perfectly to it, but it's not out of ignorance. He's not doing something that is shitty because he didn't want to learn the rules. Right?
Right.
He learned them. And he know and understand them enough that he can like step away for a second there to make something interesting.
That's right.
I think it's kind of similar.
The mechanics are important, and the mechanics ideally are going to help encourage imagination and not stifle it.
Yeah.
So that's why I would prefer to have mechanics, whatever they are, unified, but also with enough leeway that they're not so prescriptive that you just have. This was my struggle with Pathfinder First Edition 3.5 after a while, is that the turns, the characters' actions really they weren't so much role play based anymore. They were just this particular combination, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And I see a lot of Fifth Edition games that seem to be that way. Okay, well, I just do this particular combination again and again and again and again and again, and then I win the game. And that to me isn't much of, it's just not much interest. I guess if you like those kind of games, then good for you. You found you've broken the game. There it is. That particular build breaks the game.
That's in the
mindset.
Oh, sorry. You're going. Go.
Like that's why I like those are very 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 tactical game, and they often devolve into like almost like more of a board game when the combat start. Now you're no longer role playing into the board game and stuff like that. And that's why also like I like to games that have like element of resource management in a sense and risk reward, right? So not in every situation you can do the same thing, because sometimes you have to manage those resources, sometimes you're going to push a little more, and sometimes you're going to want to take more risk and stuff like that, like because you need to be able to make choices, and you need to be able to make meaningful choice. If you have a solution that you can use all the time, it takes away the choice. Right. It takes away you don't have to weigh the pros and cons. It's all what we do in life all the time. Like we take risk to different level. When you invest in your money in some shit, when you go on a date with somebody, when you play with a new group in RPG, when we evaluate what we want to do. Everything has a cost, right? There's an opportunity cost. The cost of doing one thing is all the other thing you don't do. Right?
Yeah, the opportunity cost is real. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it should be real in the game. And so I agree with you completely, Max. Yeah, the mechanics should support realism at whatever level that your group is aiming for.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
Is the move to just let the GM handle all system rules then, and then that players don't even roll
No, I like
Stop.
players
Nope.
to roll.
You can't take the bones away. Yeah.
They fucking love rolling.
They love
Yeah, you
rolling.
can't take the bones away.
I'm a player. I love rolling. Like I play
I love
some
rolling
games
dice, too.
online. You can find them if you want to hurt your brain.
I do.
But I've played in games where the game master did all the rolls and something was missing. I felt like something was missing, and it wasn't that it was a bad game. And the game master was doing a fine job, and we were all it was okay. It's just that I do feel like there was something missing there. And so, yeah, I wouldn't take away the funny math rocks. You need those.
No,
Yeah.
normally what I do is I just sit them down for 15 minutes before the game. And when it comes to like things like combat and things like that, you give them a brief explanation so that when you hand them a die, they know what they're shooting for and they know why they're shooting for it. And other than that, all the other deep level stuff, or even like, checking for, lock picks or whatever, you just kind of let that go to the wayside. They don't have to learn that. If they want to pick it up during play, first time, you always got to remember, if there's somebody who's starting off, it's going to go slower. There's going to be little breaks because the dude's just or gal is just learning. You got to cut them some slack. So you just kind of work their way into it. I look at it as just wading into the deep end of the pool. And then after that, if they want to go and read the rest of the rules so that they're familiar with it, more power to them. But just as long as they don't have to sit there and go, here's your study book before you play, because then they go, I'm out. That's
Well, yeah, and the goal is role play, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. You're not there just to roll dice. It's the
What
goal is
Arun
role
said
play.
there, I think is what Arun said there. I think is a good way to see it. When you play the Final Fantasy and you just walk around on the overland map and like the story that you interact with, and then like it's like it's all like different. Like there's the story time when you interact with NPC, and then you want to walk on the overland map, and then there's a fight, zoom in, and then they're all different mode, right? They don't merge together. And I think like D&D.
I hate
Yeah.
that. I just hate it now. I know that's what every game book is like that now, isn't it? Like, okay, so here's exploration mode, and here's combat mode, and here's role play mode. They'll have a separate mode for that, whatever that is. And I'm like, well, that seems silly to me. It should all be role play mode, and there should be mechanics that just allow those various modes of play to just go seamlessly. So
that's something that bothers me when people say like, "Oh, this session was great. It was all role play, no combat and stuff like that." I say, "Well, what do you mean? Like
just
it's not a dichotomy, right? It's not a dichotomy. Like
no,
it's not like
they're not mutually
it's either
exclusive.
role play or combat. You can have role play in
They
combat,
shouldn't be.
and
You should. Yeah, and you'll find what I found as I've been trying to become better at this is that when all the players and myself as game master we're all remembering to role play through combat. Those are the best combat sessions you'll ever have. Not the ones where we're like, okay, good, I've got just enough movement to get to that square and just enough movement to. Okay,
but it's true that there are some system like when you're in combat, like the role play almost has to take a step back because like the combat system is so complex.
Yeah, and I don't like those kind of systems. Yeah.
Talking about that, Brian from Werewolf 2 was asking in 2 comments to make it annoying to put on screen. What is everyone's
just to get mad? Just get mad.
Our base system. We can go around and start with
Good job,
Phil.
sir.
I tried to respond to that, but my autocorrect was mentally retarded.
No, we don't need you. We don't need your answer, Justin.
I have a very limited number of systems I've played. I think it's between.
Doesn't matter.
I really like Rollmaster actually, which is probably the worst example of
I'm not familiar with
the chunky rules. But also, I would say World of Darkness is probably my favorite. And I don't think I've ever learned how to actually do the combat in that game properly.
Don't you rock paper scissors or something?
I probably would prefer to. I actually really like the Mind's Eye Theater.
That's in the Mind's Eye Theater.
I
you have
probably
one
do that at a table.
system?
You know what? I have to be perfectly frank. I do not have a favorite system. I'll stay with the system for about 6 months, then I'll try something else.
Yeah,
it's a cop out.
Yeah, it is a cop out. I know, but like I can tell you which ones I've done. But I definitely I'll do it for a while, and then I'll go to my game table and say, hey, let's try something else.
Do you find that
I love Savage Worlds? Yeah.
Do you find that switching every 6 months is that because you just like to try something new, or are you searching for something that you haven't found yet?
I think it's a little bit of both. I definitely like to try new things to see oh, this game does this really well. This one, these mechanics seem to work really well with this aspect of role play, and this one seems to work against it in this one thing. But so some of it is just I haven't quite found the one I want to settle in on for the long term, and the other is that I do really like trying new things, and I like my players. I'm trying myself and to get my players to be so focused on role play that the mechanics is just something that, okay, well, in this one, this is the dice mechanic for this, but the role play that shouldn't change too much between systems, in my opinion. Like in my opinion, role play is role play. What the system underpinning it is, that's secondary. For me, for others, I know it's not, but for me, that's my answer.
Have you ever done like an analysis on things you don't like in systems? Like, have you ever thought about the reasons that systems push you away? Or
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I have thought about that, and I have a few examples. Like, I know exactly why I struggled with 4th edition. I know exactly why I struggle with DCC, Weird Frontiers.
Yeah, I want to come back to that.
But Nunya hasn't answered the question yet.
Yeah,
so.
Nunya.
Yeah.
You have
What was that?
favorite system? Favorite system to roleplay?
Yeah, Star Wars, West End Game Second Edition.
West End Games. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great choice. I think I
that's-
played that like one time, and I really love that game too.
That's a D6 system, right?
It is. It is. It blows me away on Twitter, but Twitter's Twitter, and it's a little weird. But I'm 20 people when I put out something about Star Wars. That was the greatest role-playing game ever devised. I love it. Hey, want to play? No. Well, why?
People don't play game. People want to talk about game like we're doing now.
Exactly.
I've been looking
Well, I
at
actually
the
brought a one-shot, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
I've been looking at the mini
Bring
D6
it. I'll
rules.
just bring in a one.
One day that's gonna happen. What's gonna happen? Sorry, Justin. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I've been looking at the mini D6 rules. They look pretty good.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
like I almost like fucking said, like put in the chat, like, you know, on my Discord, the link is in the description down below. The links just should work today. I've changed it, but I almost like put on the Discord like yesterday, like let's do a game, but like I fucking took my first meal like at 8 p.m. right? I was working all fucking day, like trying to build furniture and shit. So then I say, well, you know what? I don't have time to run anything. And also, going back to the question that Brian was asking, I'm also kind of like, I don't really have a system at the moment that I'm satisfied with. I'm looking around a lot, you know, like that's why like I bought a bunch of new games. Also, like to put content on the channel. I'm gonna do like
I'll
how to
fucking
and
keep
review
one in
those
the
games.
chamber
Like
for you, bro. I'll be
What?
ready to go. I said I'll keep
Oh,
one
yeah.
in the chamber for you.
Yeah.
Some
At some point it's gonna happen.
pre-mates.
Like, yeah, and that's why I'm designing my own game in part as well. You know, I'm trying to find something that, you know, is gonna fit what I want to do. Right. I like Pendragon a lot. I think Pendragon I think the system is pretty well. It's pretty good. It gets away of the role play most of the time. I just find that when in combat and stuff like that, you have very few choice, so it's not as engaging. You spend a lot of a round like repeating the same action over and over again, which I find like become kind of boring at some point. But what I was saying, that's why also like I look at the BRP system, because like, well, say like Pendragon is a modified version of BRP, but I find like BRP is so far it's not great, to be honest.
Well, I gotta say, I'm really anxious to
much
hear
not-
what Justin's favorite role-playing game is.
Don't give them the mic.
I'm just
Get everyone all
chomping
okay.
at
On
the bit.
3, 2, 1.
More Five.
Fuck, what was
Real
that?
life.
The
My
game
favorite
Wendy's,
role-playing game is real life.
the role playing game that Wendy's put out. What was the name again?
Oh, Wendy's role playing game. Yeah.
Wendy's role-playing
Yeah.
game.
It's
That's
classic.
awesome.
Yeah,
No, wasn't it KFC?
No, it was Wendy's.
no, it was Wendy's.
Wendy's
put out
put out
a-
a role-playing game.
Yeah, they put out a role playing game. Yeah,
We should
Yeah.
play that on the show sometime.
Holy
Absolutely.
shit, there is one.
Yeah.
I didn't know there
yeah,
was one.
and
Wendy's
it's
role-playing
like,
game.
Pretty rules like
well, no, it's like it's somewhat rules light. It's like a rules light version of Pathfinder, and they
what the
kind of did it like, you know, it's a functional game. That's the worst fucking thing.
Yeah. It
You
actually
think it'd be
works.
just like a fucking throwaway thing for like a marketing stunt, but you can actually play it. It's
Mhm.
silly because it's all about like fast food theme and shit like
I'm
that.
looking at the page right
But-
now. Oh my god.
Yeah,
There's
Put it on shared.
yeah. Can you share your screen? Or I'll show it. Do
Kind
a
of
present.
At the
we
bottom,
kinda
there's
when we were talking
present.
about the way that the GMs like let people roll
Yeah.
and then like kind of tell them kind of what happens to let them run with it. I don't know, but I really like what 28mm was doing in y'all's Castles and Crusades game in combat
Mhm.
when y'all would like do some amount of damage and he'd say something like devastating, and then you get to
Yeah,
like
that works good. 'cause then-
describe this like what
I like
actually
that.
happens.
Yeah,
He'll like
you'd,
give those like one word descriptions to like
That blow.
clue you in
Yeah.
on what actually happened.
you'd say death blow, and then we're like, okay,
Yeah.
I finish him off.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
how.
Is this working?
I started doing that in my game.
The
Oh,
present.
that's
I don't,
good.
I don't
I
see
like
anything
that
there
too.
at the bottom. If you just like do present, you gotta be able to choose like the window you want to share.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I got it. Yeah. So yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
This setting is
No.
called
Yeah,
Beef's Keep.
Beef's keep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's like it's in the land
Where's
of
the
the beef,
beef?
where the beef is never frozen and shit like that. It's all
I mean,
about yeah.
not the worst art that I've seen. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
No, they put some like
Oh.
you would expect like for a throwaway thing, like but no, they put more effort than they should have in that thing. Scroll down. Is that like that just like the Nerdist thing? Okay, I thought you had like the PDF there, but no, like
Holy
they even did the
shit.
trailer and stuff like that. And I think you could get like the D20 at the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It was a whole fucking thing.
Oh my
When
god,
was
is that
this?
D20 badass? Does it have
What
a
years
burger
ago?
on the 20?
It should
I
have a
must have
worker on the
legends.
20.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's right.
When
But, yeah.
was this?
It's
Probably
a couple
like
of
the
years
Wendy's face on the 20.
And the McDonald's arches for the one
for
or
the
something.
one.
Yeah.
It's just the W on both
Like,
ends.
and there were like some
They're just
like
Cheater
you
dice.
can regain like elf point by eating like food from the
Smart.
Wendy's menu and shit.
Well, there's
like,
some
there
realism
was-
there. I like that.
Yeah.
What happens when you eat the chili?
That's
hey, I like that chili. Don't bad
Cursed
mouth
item.
that chili.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I
Only with the
haven't ate
Baconator?
much, yeah, that's the only thing I ate from Wendy's. I'm not like I'm not a big fast food guy, so. But when I go,
Well, I
like,
think Baconator is one of the food groups. Like that should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
It's
fair
right
enough.
under
Like,
bacon.
it's a good ratio
Right
of like
above bread.
meat and
It's
cheese
perfect.
and not
Yeah.
not too much bread, right?
It's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's
You
fantastic.
don't have like the
Wendy's.
useless
We have
fucking green.
We have shit Wendy's. I miss good Wendy's.
Wendy's here is good. I've had Wendy's in the States and it wasn't the same, but
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
I like the hot sauce too. It's just concentrated hot.
yeah.
Like
Justin asked me a
artificial
question.
color.
I think it is kind of a pertinent question. It's what mechanics do you not like
Yeah.
in games? And
Yeah.
the mechanics that I don't like specifically, like so a lot of people like to just hate on 4th edition. I do think 4th edition does some things well. The problem I have with 4th edition is that it's not really set up to encourage role play. And
Yeah.
the biggest issue I had with it was that there were each class had several abilities that allowed the ability to do something that just was really hard for me to imagine in a real world. Like even in a real kind of imagined fantasy world. It's like, well, wait a second. Your whatever Warforged Warden, whatever build it was, can just do this one thing and then reposition this, 3-ton dragon just however they want. Like, how does that? But I mean, is it just magic? No, it's not magic. It's because it's just my ability here. Like, well, I have a hard time with that. If I can't visualize something, then
Yeah.
I'll leave it out. And so, but so much of 4th edition is like that.
Even if it's like a spectral beam of light.
I didn't like healing surges. I didn't like. There's just things I didn't much care for. As a miniatures
Yeah.
game, I think it works great, but it is a miniatures game. That's really what that is. It's not a role playing game.
I played Mage Knight. That was the minimalist.
I have that. I have Mage Knight.
Minimalist.
You're kind of a
role-playing
big board gamer, huh?
I love board games. I
Ah,
do,
me too,
but
man.
they're
Yeah, I do
like
too.
I just picked up. What did I just pick up? Oh, Terraforming Mars. For some reason I didn't
nice.
have Terraforming Mars, so I picked that one up.
Yeah.
Looks
game.
awesome.
Isn't that the one with all the AI art?
I don't know. That doesn't offend me. So if it is, I don't really care.
It doesn't offend me
I'll make it
either.
less.
It's like,
I think it's one of the
progressive.
spin-off that got a controversy with the AI art, because Terraforming Mars
There's
is,
add-ons, yeah.
is somewhat
There's
old.
expansions.
Yeah,
It's an
and
old
I think
game.
also-
Yeah, old. 2016 or
and
17.
it's not a looker.
hmm
But it's old enough that it was like before like the AI art was everywhere. That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
it was. Yeah, that's definitely the case.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the expansion. I remember hearing something about
Yeah, I like the
Yeah, I
Doom,
love
a
board
Mars
game.
game.
But I'm not so much a board game hobbyist. I'm maybe a board game collector. Like I don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot
I
of that
understand that.
in RPG too. I just was talking to somebody yesterday about RPGs, and he said to me flat out, I says, "What are you buying this for?" And he says, "I'm not. I'll read it. I like the writing." I says, "There's a lot of people that are just collecting this stuff, and so and that's fine. I'm trying to sell a RPG to people, and it's like when somebody's a collector, they come and they talk to me about what I'm making. I'm trying to say, to me, it's like
It's a different market.
yeah, it's a different market, and it's hard to burn through. It's like a guy coming out of my Chevy lot wanting to buy a Ford. I mean, you buy
Yeah,
whatever you
true.
want, but I'm trying to find people that are trying to buy my games.
Yeah.
Well, it's one thing that baffles me. Like I understand. Okay, you collect games because you play them and you like make them or whatnot. Like Mr. Max over here.
Yep.
But if you're just like a person who likes to collect like books to read. Well, are you reading them for the fantasy? Because you could read fantasy books. They're
Yeah, that's a
better
good
at
point.
that.
That's a good point.
Are you reading them for the
guess.
technical manuals? Because you could go and read technical manuals and actually learn how to do something real.
Right.
Well, I remember as a
Well-
teenager, I was collecting Palladium books because I loved the artwork.
Palladium.
And there's
love them,
no
man.
there's no
The-
like
the
fantasy
art
novels
was
that are
great.
like this is
Palladium.
that it's sort of like an encyclopedia of a fantasy
Oh.
world. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't really happen in fantasy fiction, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the art thing was the other one I didn't get to, because I just thought that I would ask people, I says, why don't you just, you've got to be able to find that in a frame somewhere, right? You don't have
You'd
to buy
think
a
so.
whole book, you
Yeah.
know?
You can buy art books
You can,
where the art is
just not with like cool robots that change from a jet to a.
Well,
like
now with the
yeah, you can.
Well, you can.
video game
You
art
can now,
book,
yeah.
yeah.
Back then, it wasn't available in where I live.
Yeah, that might be.
Brian, I have an interesting
Decades.
question. Do you think there's a different flavor between US and Canada game creator or a game consumer, I guess? Do you think American wants something different than Canadian?
It's a good question.
a good question.
We have got 3 Canadians on the panel.
Yeah, but I don't really count because
I
I'm a
have
French
no idea
Canadian,
who
right?
a game designer is.
If you're American,
that-
somebody's got to get his ass kicked and something's got to blow up, or it's not
Well,
good.
No, but because that like the fact that I'm French Canadian might also mean I want something different
Yeah.
from
Could be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And as a Canadian, I expect there to be boobs.
Yeah, well, that's true. He's
I
in
gotta say,
Ontario.
Americans also enjoy boobs.
Well, that's
Yeah.
like I don't
Yeah,
think
but
that
you're
there's
scared,
much
man.
difference.
Yeah.
There's not. I don't think there's much.
We all have them. So
Personally, I would not be. I wouldn't be too excited about a Canadian product because
Yeah.
I've seen what Canadian products usually are. Like
Yeah,
Canadian
like-
authors, unreadable. Canadian
like,
with a few
Some
few
people say that Pundit is
exceptions.
Canadian.
Yeah, I guess so. You have Pundit is. I mean, he's
Adam
an expat.
Coco.
He's more Uruguayan now, I think. than
He's a
Canadian.
weirdo to begin with. Like,
So
even
I don't
for
know. I don't know.
Canadians.
I own one of his games. It's a good game, but
What game do you own?
I own the Star Adventurer. I was looking for something lightweight science fiction, and that's what I tried. So, I'll
I
try
have
that.
like
And he's
Lion
cheap.
Dragon. I wasn't too impressed by it, but
But I don't know that I would be like, just because like you see like you go like Max, you like classical music. Have you found a Canadian classical composer that you actually can listen to? Because most
Composer?
of them you can't listen to Canadian classical music. It is so bad. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
we're going to explore discordant sounds, which just means that nothing
wow.
Oh,
is harmonious. It's
classical,
just
right. Interesting.
Okay,
ugh,
so
awful.
I don't like the things you're
I was
saying.
I was working in a fish and chip shop, and they had the CBC radio on.
Well, that's your first mistake there.
Yeah, and I had to rush through a crowd of like 15 people that were packed in like sardines to change the channel, because at 2 in the
Awful.
afternoon they started having a diatribe about phalluses
Oh, it's awful. It's it's like NPR, but like worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so whatever, however bad NPR could be, like on its worst day, that's CBC on its best day. It's that bad. I hate
Is
it.
the tone even more alien?
Oh yeah. They have the same sort of. Hi, how are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
This is-
Peach sweaty balls.
Yeah, we have good.
Yeah.
But
In the contrast, like our stand-up comedians are hilarious. Like we have good comedy, but and we have some good, like we have some good music, modern music, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know if there's much difference. I don't think I can answer that. I should just shut up. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't think there's much difference in creator between American and Canadian from what I saw. Like in,
No,
in
I
the
don't think
of the
so.
creator, like because you could see like I said, like Adam Cobble is Canadian, right? The guy that does like Dungeon World, but it does it from the Powered by the Apocalypse system, which is a system created by an American, right?
Right.
Which I forgot his name. Bakers, I think is I forgot his name.
Mm.
I'm having like wardrobe malfunction, but which is not really wardrobe. I'm just
Speaking of
wrapping the
boobs, there
blanket.
you go.
Wardrobe. What is this wardrobe you speak of?
Well, I'm wrapping the blanket, right? It's not really wardrobe, but it's
I've got a
bordering,
keyboard
right?
on my lap.
But and that's all you had.
Yes.
But in terms of like, I can see a difference. I think between in role player in gamer between French Canadian and Canadian or American. Canadian American are much more alike. French Canadian tends to be a bit different.
Yep, probably
And-
closer to French, like continental French.
How so?
Well, it's kind of like in between, but because like our like literary tradition is kind of different, like, and that might not be as true anymore as well, because now we're much more like Americanized in the last like 20 years. But
Less Voltaire
no,
and
no,
more all the rest.
yeah, or less Dumas, like the way
Less
we tell a
Dumas,
story.
yeah.
Less identity.
Hugo,
Yeah,
all of them.
exactly the way we tell a story, like the way the story we grew up with and the cartoon that we grew up in were different, right? Less actiony and
What
much
is
more
it?
like about like
Tete a claque.
person.
Yeah.
Well, Ted Clack was I was already old in that time. I didn't grow up with that.
Betraying
like, I
my
was already,
age. That's right.
Fucking Pengu.
Anyway,
Pingu.
That was a
we're
fun.
gonna
That was a
we're gonna
fun
lose Nunya. We got to change the topic here.
It sounds too Canadian. in
It is,
here.
and it is not just disgusting. I know.
Yeah. But I
Everyone
wanted to ask something to Crispy, because you mentioned like DCC earlier, right? And I think DCC got something there, like mechanics as well, that get in the way of role play.
They do, absolutely.
And especially when it comes to magic, right?
Especially
and
when it comes to magic. Yeah.
This idea of like, oh, wild magic that can go wrong and stuff like that sound cool on paper, and you can say, oh, that could lead to interesting role play opportunity. But the fact is, like, every time you
It
cast
doesn't.
a spell and it goes wrong, you
Yeah.
have to stop and look at the chart and stuff like that. Yeah,
It's chart
And then, like-
reference. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's just
And I think that's a big one.
it's a big one because it slows things down when they just at the very moment where they need to be fast and dynamic. Like it slows it right down. It impedes role play.
Take care, Grandma.
Oh, see you, Grandma. But there's it's not I agree with you, Max. When I first saw it and I read through all the spell descriptions, I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. A page and a half, 2 pages on spider climb. Like, okay, this is like, look at all the things. If you roll high enough, you can literally become a spider but in practice, what it means is that every time your caster decides that they're going to cast a spell, they have to roll and then reference a chart and then read the entry on the chart and then read or tell the rest of us what happens. Because not everyone at the table is going to look up the chart for, oh, what was it this time on Magic Missile? Because Magic Missile can go all the way from ICBM to a spell that blows up and then blows up the wizard. Like it can be that huge. There's this huge variety.
Swing.
And the swinginess of it. Like I don't mind swingy systems. I'm playing Savage Worlds for crying out loud. Like there's exploding dice. It can be swingy, but it's not the same kind of chart reference on everything. In the case of Weird Frontiers, where I do like weird westerns, but the role play was difficult because you'd have character classes that would have to reference 4 different critical hit charts and then a fumble chart for each type of weapon. So like there's just so much. It becomes so, you're just bogged down. You're constantly looking. You can play a character like a gambler, which the aesthetics, it's kind of like the X-Men Gambit. It's like that. You can charge playing cards and throw them up in the air. But why? Like it doesn't. Every time you do that, you're just randomly flipping cards off a deck of cards to see what actually happens. And depending on what the card that comes up, it could be anything from, like we had one where he basically, the gambler roasted 3 of 4 characters. Just it blew up and there you go, half the party dead, over half the party dead, just like that. And it was so random that it just didn't, it was hard to role play in that. Makes it very difficult.
Randomness and swinging not being a good thing, but with the charts and stuff, and a lot of people get hardcore about, well, I don't want complexity and all that. But if it brings something interesting to the table, what I've always done is I've been a big proponent of using virtual tabletop or any type of computer assist. I've been doing it since '82 when I had a Tandy 600 and a spreadsheet on a liquid crystal display. And if people like these systems, but they go, oh, well, it's just too much to handle or whatever, that's one of the things that I try to present to customers is that I can run this thing seamlessly because I've got all these computer assists. I got a couple of programs that do that sort of thing for me. So all you have to do is roll your dice, and you have your character sheet in front of you digitally. It'll even update the character sheet for you without having to put any input into it. And that stuff happens like that if it's beneficial to the system. But if it's just something that's going to get everybody killed because it's a stupid gimmick, then nobody wants to play it, no matter how well it's arbitrated or not. So.
Yeah. Well, it's like we're playing Morkborg the other day over here, and well, the spell thing, the way I'm playing it, man, it's what I'm going to be referencing.
Okay.
I didn't say anything.
Well,
I'm tired.
Good on you for playing, man.
But like
brand loyalty.
Yeah.
But you could just say I was playing. Like I understand. Just for that.
Okay, but like when you find a new magic scroll in that system, you got to roll on a chart to see what one you're getting, right? Mm-hmm. Or you buy one, you roll on a chart to see what one you're getting because it uses a scroll system. But you do that like by yourself as your character, and you write it down. You don't need to talk to the whole table about it. If you're playing in person, you just hand that person the book. They turn to that page. And if you get a critical failure, right, like that, there's the scroll blows up or whatever. You just move to the next player's turn while that person is figuring out what the hell happened to their character.
Yeah, we did that too, Justin. In DCC, we would do that, especially if it was like, okay, in this case, it was the what was it, the character class? It was like the Montebank or something like that, and he would have incredibly complex charts to look up. So we would just say, okay, well, you do your thing, we'll go to the next person. But then we get this time violation where we have to go back now. Oh, actually. This is what happened because now we have to reference it.
Oh,
and
that's what I would say. If the result of the chart impact the rest of the next player to go on, not.
And if they don't impact the scene, if they're not changing it, then is it just meaningless? It's a distinction without a difference. Like who cares then? Like why did we spend the time? Even if I tried to go the extra mile. I would print off every chart that character, that player would need for that character. And then I gave them all binders with all these charts in them. But then you just get this stupid thing where, okay, I've got to flip through. Okay, what page was that again? And I got to look up. Okay, how many? I'm printing off all their spells, and each spell is at least a page long, with a full page of potential results.
Yeah.
Then you have this other issue with DCC, which, in my opinion, doesn't add to the game. I know the people that really love DCC love the strange. The Zochi or Zoki dice or whatever.
Yeah.
That's where you get a D7, a D5, you get a D24, a D30, a D16. It just doesn't, in my experience with it. And we went ahead and we had one of the players was kind enough. He bought everyone their own set. and I picked them up. So we all had all our sets, but then it became, it was like, okay, which the D, which one
They
is
start
it?
looking too
D16.
much
So now
the
you're
same.
searching around for dice. Oh
Yeah.
no, I rolled the wrong one. No, it should have been a D24. But then the odds in the D24 versus the D20, it's like, what? This is a distinction again without a difference, and it
Was it-
becomes
Yeah.
Mhm.
it just bogs it right down. I'm not a fan. Not
It's
a fan.
It goes for the
interesting.
toy factor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's interesting to deal with people's psychology because 15 years ago I talked about custom dice and I wasn't a big fan of them. And at the time, there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, they're really great because I don't have to look up charts and all that stuff." I brought out that the idea of a custom dice in my scenario or my system 2 days ago. I had people that were so fucking went, "Rah, rah, rah, if you get custom dice," they hated them for the very reasons you're talking about. They're hard to get hold of and all that sort of stuff. But
Mhm.
they were supposed to be the alternative to charts for a long time. It's weird how that kind of ebbs and flows over the years, though.
Yeah, in the case of
Well,
DCC,
like,
you have that plus charts, so it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like a custom die for like it location and stuff like that is one thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't get too much in the way, but there's only so much information you can convey with the dice.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the chart as well. If you have like one chart in your game for like critical hit and stuff like that, that everybody use the same chart, you can print it, you have it there on reference. It doesn't get
Mhm.
as
Yeah.
much in the way.
Well,
Or the chart in Morgborg, like the way you explain it for the scroll and stuff like that.
yeah.
When you get a scroll, when you get like this is like more like there's not gonna be impact on the next player
No.
going up. It's much more like it's gonna be like at the end of a combat, like when you loot people, or it's gonna be in a shopping session, stuff like that, or it's gonna be like so it's a time where like looking at a chart doesn't endure as much, and also like almost find like fit with the narrative that your character is actually looking at the scroll and trying to figure out what it is, right? So now the
Mhm.
time the character is spending, well, is the time the player like there's almost a correspondence there. So not all chart, in my opinion, are equal, but I think that I
No.
find that games that require you to look up chart a lot and do a lot of flipping through the books and stuff like that, that does take me out of role playing.
And I'll
for
say
sure.
this: you can have big, massive charts, but they have to be one-time use charts. If you got to reference a chart multiple times during play, it's got to be a small one, just because it's faster on the eyes. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
that's
even
why.
if you're having to roll for what's on the chart,
Yeah.
Right.
it's a smaller option pool. It's less psychologically impacting, thus less disruptive to the game.
Yeah, I just that's why I use the VTTs because then it's just all out of the way. And which was another psychological weird thing because I used to have people say that all the time too. Well, I don't want to have a computer next to me. Get out of it! Come on, the thing is this big. It's in your hand. I mean, you get to a point where there's somebody that just was going to look for a way to shoot something down, no matter what you put in front of them. But at least
Yeah.
with the software, it worked out really great. If people were willing to invest it, get involved with it, and they didn't have to do any work. Shit, you
So
didn't even have
my experience with that, Nunya, because I invested in the Fantasy Grounds
Grounds.
Ultimate, and then I would buy my game systems in Ultimate so that everything is automated, and DCC is all automated, so all these charts would be automated.
Yeah.
But again, I come back to the same issue, which is I want role play, and the charts, because in my opinion, it was taking some decisions that I would rather have in the character's hands and just making them random. I don't want every outcome to be random. Like
Yeah.
to me, it still was a bit of a problem, even when we were using a VTT. And as you say, some VTTs, Fantasy Grounds is a good example. Their automation is really fantastic. Like, it's all there. You just click the button, does the whole thing for you. It's all relatively seamless, especially for some rule sets, Savage Worlds especially, in their 5th edition. Although I've never done that on the VTT, but I'm still left with this: is this going to help role play or not? And in my experience, these that component of DCC was not helping
Sure.
role play at all.
Yeah.
What Brian was saying there, like I think the format of RPG can affect the game. I would rather be in person with other and find gaming in that way more satisfying and rewarding than online. I think online has a level of tech needed to play where all you need in person is a piece of paper and some dice. I agree with that. I find like the online thing with computer, for me, It might not be for everybody. For me, it's very distracting. If I need to, because there's always lag, and sometimes we can do it like when we do like it's basically we do our game in StreamYard there with Crispy and Rick and Big Bad and even there's technological limitation. Sometimes there's a little glitch and then you didn't quite hear what the other person has to say, or sometimes like there's a few freeze frame here and there, or you drop a little bit. And if you add the VTT to it, and then like at some point, like I have to look at the button, and if I play with my phone and stuff like that, no, like, and sometimes there's a bit of lag and stuff. It's all stuff that at some point like take me out of looking through the eyes of my character at the scene, at the mindscape. Now I have to look with my human eyes at the interface I have in front of me and pressing buttons and stuff like that.
Yeah, the only
Right. Well,
benefit-
this is
the
where
only
when I got
benefit
it.
is networking, right?
Yeah,
Only
that's the
benefit
thing.
is
This
online.
you got a country that's got 9.8 square million kilometers, and you got a lot of people that just don't have that opportunity in other ways. So you either tell them, "Well, screw you, because you can't play because you live in bumfuck Egypt," or you set something up. The whole point of these stuff, the whole point of this stuff was to bring people together.
And I think the only benefit also.
Yeah,
Online role playing.
the software, and there's a lot of software out there, and some of it's different than others. And that wasn't just like with the
So
dice that I brought up. The dice I
bring a
brought.
BTT to a in-person game.
Sure, and he brought just like I brought up the
just
the
like
dice
that
thing.
D&D.
Sure.
You're gonna love one D&D, bro.
No, see that's the thing. That's the difference, because there's a lot of different types of software out there. And just like the custom dice, I brought up custom dice to people, and they immediately made assumptions about what I was talking about and then attacked it based on that assumption, but not realizing that there was a whole plethora of different types. I said, "Do you even know what kind of things I'm going to put on the custom dice?" "No, I just hate them." "Well, give me a second. Let me finish the sentence." And just, it was just saying arm, leg, head, or foot. "Oh, well, that's different." Right? It is different. So you can take it all different types of VTT. And they all do different types of things. And yes, some of them are brought locally to a table, So,
arm, leg, head, or foot.
Yeah.
3. So if you throw torso in there, that's 4. That's D4. You could just put that on your character sheet. Like, head is 1, torso is 2.
But now you're back to that's the question.
Back to looking away from things and going onto a chart.
Yeah.
No,
it's the question of like chart versus dice versus custom dice, and at some point, and that's the thing too. Both can coexist, right? You can have if you play a Conan 2D20, you don't need to have the custom dice for the location because you can look at the chart, but you can have the custom dice. It's just like it's optional at that point.
Yeah, right. I like to do that, but it was the same thing years ago when this was brought up. There was a lot of people saying, "Well, I don't like the charts because I don't like to take my eyes off the action." Okay, well, they gave solutions, and then there was complaints for the solutions. One solution was, let's put all the information on the character's POG. Well, shit, then you're out there being Sherlock Holmes looking at that thing, because all the armor class and everything is written in 8-pinch font to put on some card that's put on the table instead of on your 8.5 by 11 sheet.
Well, why are you using POGs?
Well, because people play with miniatures, on the game. So there's always something. I mean, there's
I'm also not a big fan of, but
right, but it gets to the point where there's always
depending on the style as well.
Yeah, and some people, no matter what you bring them, I could say, "Hey, my game's going to give you a 10-minute orgasm," and they would find a way that was a problem. So you just kind of get to a point.
Well, we are in a public space.
I don't want to go to jail, bro.
Right,
I'm okay with that, but not with you.
I've done both.
And heterosexual.
I have done both the VTT and the in-person. I have to say that VTT or just an online game in general, like what Max and I have played in, they have their moments. But it's if there was some way that we could do it in person, I think it would have been way better. Way better.
So much better communication in person.
There's so
Except
much
for
better
my
because
smell, but-
how much of our communication is lost when it's just a talking head? Like I think
You
that
get some nose plugs.
well, there is that malodorous part of gaming that we have to address, but aside from that,
Session 0.
I think that's a social contract thing. You should have a shower before you come to my house. My wife will kill you. So
well, it's 20 minutes after I get to your house.
It's easier to have a shower than a solid internet connection. Maybe.
So, but I think in person is preferable where it can exist. But you bring up a good point, and yet there's, especially if like Max and I we're looking for a very specific type of play. Well, that's going to be hard to do in small town Canada where I am.
Yeah.
So.
And Brian was talking about that. I think that's too crush talking about the online play, because of course I prefer in-person play. If we're gonna play online, I say like keep it like I like to keep it as simple as possible. Like don't get bogged down with the gimmick, the technology and stuff like that. Just like we just get onto screen, onto camera with the microphone and stuff like that, and that's good enough, right? Like we did the rolling dice with the dice roller that they can put on screen. That's all right.
It's okay.
But rolling physical dice doesn't bother me at all either.
No, that's good too.
Yeah, because you say like instead of creating a community in their own area, and then you add like just another way to lessen our social skill, reaching out to local shop via cons, coffee shop, library. Like I live in a town of like 3,000 people, right?
Right. You can't just create something out of nothing. If the people don't exist in the town, then there's nothing you can do. That's why
we don't even have like coffee shop around.
Right.
Like, we don't have a game store. We don't have anything like that. And the closest thing that would be like a city.
Right.
That's the thing. The closest thing that would be like considered like a city is like 3 hours drive away if we're generous in our definition of city. 9 hours if we're like a little more like a normal definition of what a city is, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
So there's a thing, and not only that, but also I'm looking for like Crispy said, I'm looking for a specific type of play. I could find like probably like a 1D player or 2D player around, right? But
sure you could.
It's not necessarily what I want, right? I want a little more of that.
Yeah, it's hard enough to get, and I did that too, where I got into. In fact, I stopped playing with a guy for a while because he never wanted to play what I wanted to play, and I never wanted to play what he wanted to play, and it just finally gave way. And then years later, I thought, you know what? I wish I would have made some compromises with this guy, because now I've got nobody. Remember that gal that I brought up that couldn't visualize last time I was talking? Yeah. She lived on the Barrier Islands in North Carolina. She had a better chance of finding a unicorn than another player. It was 1984, everybody was all biblical and all that. So you look at it from a perspective of trying to, keep the hobby going. And of course, I'm looking at it from a perspective of trying to get people in through the door because I'm getting paid for it. If I alienate people by making it a specific route that they have to take in order to play, I'm just killing the thing. So I'm trying to make it more open, And the whole idea of the internet is to be able to connect people. I always thought it'd be great, but it was great when World Wide Web came around, because I didn't have to keep talking about my wargaming hobby with the same 3 people in my neighborhood. All of a sudden, I could talk with everybody,
So is your in-person VTT, are you primarily using that as like tactical map and chart roller?
No, I use the Realmworks that I use at a local thing at like a con it handles everything. It can.
But I'm saying, like, what is your benefit to having a VTT in an in-person game? Like, what do you see as the benefit?
Well, because there's a lot of people that complain about writing stuff down and taking care of character sheets and stuff. So it does that for them. Smart. It will roll a die for them if they want, but like people say, most people go, no, I want the bones in my hand. So you can do that too. It also organizes everything instead of bringing a folder full of loose paper or even a steno notebook. I've got everything hashtag connected. Whenever I bring up an NPC or something like that, it brings up everything that's related to in the entire campaign. What faction, all that sort of stuff comes up at the click of a button. So it's very well organized and keeps things moving faster, because I don't have to, I'm old. I'll have a brain fart if I don't have stuff coming right at me all the time, even if I wrote it. So it keeps things moving real quick. And it will display both maps. And if somebody goes, well, what does this look like? I've never seen this kind of monster before. And they'd be somebody that isn't good at visualization like that gal. I can put the picture of the monster right up on their screen. Each one of them has a screen along with mine. It's like a server LAN type of setup that I use.
Oh, interesting. So everyone's sitting around a table with a laptop or something?
Yeah,
or phone.
No, well, they can use it. The one I use doesn't use mobile, so I have cheap monitors, small little 13-inch monitors for everybody, and they all just connect to a central hub. and I run it off of my computer that way. So
Sounds interesting.
yeah,
But you're pretty
I've never sat at a game like that. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
You're pretty comfortable with the technology though. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
well,
It's just
I'm a Luddite, right?
So, but yeah,
Mm.
it would be nice. It would be nice if the guy had set the thing up so that there was mobile, because a lot of people, more and more people are telling me, "Well, I don't have a computer at all." But that's why I went and got the monitor, so I wouldn't have to worry about that. So now you don't have to bring anything. All you have to do is sit down and things in front of your face if you need it. So, but it also works online as well. So I use that. But some of these I don't like to use because they cost so damn much, like Fantasy Grounds and all that stuff. And I mean, money, 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 money. This thing is just a
It's
program.
pricey.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I pay one time for this thing plus for storage costs, and that's all I need to use it for. And I can put anything I want into it. In fact, I use all my custom campaigns I put into this thing too. But as far as, I mean, that's for what it helps DM. But as far as the subject matter here of keeping people flowing, it allows. Say you want to play MERP for whatever reason, but everybody goes, well, Jesus, that thing was really super, complicated. Well, now you can enjoy the game without having to learn the game and without having to facilitate it, because all those charts and everything will be handled in the background. You'll just get the input and the output. I wanted,
Yeah.
that's all.
Merp.
Where
So Nunya, like Arman was asking you to use a large screen as a tabletop. So
No.
I guess not, just like small.
I have.
I would if
I
I
have
could
before.
afford it. I would if I could afford
I
it, but I
have.
can't afford it.
I put a 50-inch on a table once,
Yeah.
and they just had it hooked up to a laptop, and I was using a VTT to do exploration so that there was line of sight, and then I just put a very thin piece of plexiglass at first, and then I just lost the plexiglass because whatever, don't really care about this TV. And we had little felts on the bottom of the miniatures that I had painted, and then they just moved them on the TV, and I would update. It was essentially me trying to be a server, running a game server. And after a while, I sat down with my players and like, I can back up a little bit. What it worked well for was that kind of exploration sort of thing, but it destroys any active imagination on the part of the player. Gone. Because if they don't see it on the TV, they can't imagine it, right? Because that's what the world is. The world is the TV now. It more than tripled, maybe quadrupled my prep time, because now I'm doing all of the vision blocking, all the occluders, all the doors, the secret doors, the windows. I got to do light sources. Then I have to get all of their individual token light, like so their vision per token, and then I have to have it all set up, and then I've got to have 2 sessions running, because I have my session as the game master, and then I have the session that's running on the TV, and I'm doing all of this. And after I realized that it was just taking up way too much time, and it was not adding at all to what I wanted to do, because it just encouraged a lack of imagination and no role play. And so I was
And
like,
I think
this
also
is
like
it's done. I got rid of it.
I think
Yeah,
he
they can be
also like
over-engineered.
hindered I think he also like hindered the improv aspect when you're GMing, because now like you want to have those maps and stuff like that, so you kind of pre-plan your encounter.
Yeah.
And now like you spend all this time
Railroady
planning those
and-
encounter, exactly,
Yeah.
it's gonna push you toward the railroad, because you
Yeah, I
wanna,
hated
like,
it.
and I guess like when you do like when you do like a games that people pay you to do, and you're with different group of people that you don't know necessarily and stuff like that, like maybe you need to be a little more control, more like telling them a story.
No,
Which is,
it's not that though. It
no?
really isn't. No. I don't use any of that stuff. That stuff with the heavy, what do you call it, graphics? No, this is just it's just providing number crunching that they don't have to do. So you get a lot of people complain about math in these games. Well, and I can do it with wargaming as well. I'd love to play Panzer Blitz, but I don't want to do division 5 times in 2 minutes. Okay, now the computer does it for you. So you say, I want to shoot at that tank. Okay, then everything's done. All you get back is the answer. Did you hit it? Did you make it go boom? All that sort of stuff. Same thing with RPGs. I cast magic missile. Okay, everything's handled. How much damage, whether you hit, all that sort of stuff. Can I put out an encounter map? Yes, but it's 2-dimensional, and it's not anything but here's what it looks like. Here's what the battlefield looks like. I wouldn't.
For me, like when your game like kind of requires you to have a computer do the math for you, right, or a calculator or stuff like that. Like for me, that's like a failure of game design Almost like like
the game is too.
I love game design, and I especially love role playing game design because it's such an interesting puzzle to me, such a challenge because you can do so much in a role playing game, and you want to have like mechanics that can cover like the whole variety of things you can do to some extent. You want them to be like deep enough that they're engaging and interesting and stuff like that. It's not just like roll one die, like if it's odd even, whatever. Like that would be like boring pretty quick. But you also want them to be simple enough that people can manage them on their own without having to resort to computer or to assist them, right? This sweet spot. Everybody's gonna put the balance different, the line at different spot, right? And prioritize different thing. And I think it's interesting to see how different designer like manage that. Like I was mentioning earlier with the example of like 5% of your skill and 10% and 20% of your skill, like. For me, that's insane, right? It's just like demanding people to do that math almost every time they make a somewhat good roll, right? Because of course, if you're close to
you don't have to do it
to your skill, you don't need to do the math because you're not there, right? But like every time no, am I on a special? Am I a critical? Like that's fucking insane to me. But
see, that's the thing though. When I started this stuff, I started in the 70s, and all this and in at that period of time, the kind of math that people consider complex was just shit we did. It wasn't that big of a deal. And this is where I see it, because what I'm trying to understand is the psychology of people these days. Well, and because everything is complex to the point where no matter what you do, somebody's going to throw that term at you.
So it's not that it's complex; it's that it gets in the way of the game, right? Like,
yeah, but that's the thing. If you can not have to worry about doing it, then it's not in the way anymore.
Yeah.
See what I found with the use of
it then locks you into having to have that computer system.
Why? Yeah. All you got to do is sit down. Well, first of all, everybody's on a computer anyway. You're talking about computer playing remote.
If I was playing in person, I don't want anyone touching a fucking computer system.
Yeah,
it's a monitor.
Like a piece, it doesn't matter.
It's still on the table.
It's not even your monitor. This is what I'm saying. Eventually, sooner or later, somebody will find a way to complain about no matter what you present them. And but to the point where they try.
Like I said, everybody put the line at different place. Like for me, like also like especially when I play in person, like a board game or a role playing game, stuff like that. Like I don't play board game that are app assisted. That for me, like that pass the line. Like if you fucking design a board game, design it like properly. That I don't need a fucking app, right? And for me, like when I play a board game, when I play a tabletop game, basically for me it's like my away from screen time. We spend enough time on those fucking screen nowadays. Like like when I can do something that I'm not looking at a screen, I'm 100% for it. Like and no phone at the table. You're gonna fucking your character sheet on a piece of paper. But I'm also somebody that doesn't like technology, so there's that, right?
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That's my ideal situation with any kind of in-person tabletop gaming.
Paper, pencil, dice, and as few books as possible.
Yeah,
so I'm going to complain about it, Nanya.
No, I know, but that's why I say to the point where you get to the point. That's where I bring up the FKR thing, and I'm doing the free creek spiel because now you don't have to worry about the rules. See, think of it this way. Like I said, I have everything first edition first AD&D. I have all the old OD&D. I have GDW, Twilight 2000. Now, what a lot of people want to go to me and say is, well, all that stuff was too old and too complicated. Here's the new version. Now I got to pay a whole boatload of money for the same damn game all over again and then relearn it and all that sort of stuff. Because why? Well, because I don't want to look at this or I don't want to do that or I want to. Okay, well, how about if I just present you with a alternative where you don't have to? Well, it's always something. And,
people like to complain.
Yeah, and I just want to. I don't want to have to pay for everything all again. So now what I have is I have all this old stuff, but you can still play it because all the investment in time that takes you away from the role playing is being facilitated for you without having to think about it. See, that's the thing. But still, there's somebody going, well, I don't like that. Well, okay.
There's definitely like a part of me that is like enjoys the actual game of games. So it's like some role-playing games, I don't mind if I'm looking up all this bullshit and stuff, but it's not immersive. Like it's just me enjoying myself with, oh, this is what this superpower does in the context of the system or whatever, and that's fun. Like I like that, but I'm not role-playing.
Yeah, and
I like that as well. I like the
Yeah.
tactical combat, but I'm
I
also
like
like a board gamer,
Palladium.
so like that. Like I like
Yeah,
the
I like-
war game and stuff like that. Like yeah,
like to have lots of
I want to
skills
say like I
listed.
agree with you. Like if you practice math as your child, like yeah, you gotta get math done in no time. And now we are in a world of calculator cripple people that can fucking do like basic math in their head. That drives me
True.
mad. I'm pretty good at the mental math, but
it's
you
just
know,
that some
I
of us,
realize that most people are not.
right?
Like I
But
often
some
say,
of
like you ask people to add 3 dice together. Like adding 2 dice together is fine. As soon as you ask them to add like 3 or more dice together, it fucking slow down to a crawl.
right. It gets
Because
to
now
the
people have to remember the result of the first 2 dice and do the addition for the third dice, and now they get confused.
yeah.
Like
Well-
it's like that's why I like we're looking for success. You know,
Then
in
you add a
dice pool
modifier
system
to
that-
it. It's like 4 dice.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know it's
And
It's easy.
it even if you're
Get it
like
out.
I find that kind of stuff easy, but it's still taking me away from the character, and especially then now you're adding. Well, I have to look up a chart first, and sorry, Nunya, but all you're saying is I've built a really complex calculator to play
No, I
my
didn't.
fucking role-playing
That's not what I
game.
said at all. It's not. No, it's not. It's a.
That's
First of
exactly
all,
what
I didn't
you're
make.
saying.
No, it's not. First of all, I didn't make it. Second of all, it's not about a calculator. It's about handling everything in the game.
That's what a calculator does.
No,
it does
it
the
doesn't.
math
No,
for
it's the
you.
chart.
No, it doesn't.
It's mostly like
There's a calculator isn't going to write down something in a space. A calculator isn't going to know what's going to go on in a role playing game.
It's hyperbole.
Yeah, it is. And that's the problem. Like I asked somebody, I said somebody the other day, write down the experience points instead of XP for gold. Write down the experience points as you get it. You know what I got in response? I got the hyperbolic reply that, well, if I have to write that down, it turns Dungeons and Dragons into accountants and actuaries. Jesus, come on! You know it's
Dude,
it's
I
to the
mean,
point of absolutely
No offense,
asinine.
Nanya,
You know,
but you're getting
That person
paid,
needs to be
bro.
removed from the table.
that's
I'm
You're,
sorry,
you're getting paid,
deposit
and the
is not
people that
being
are playing
refunded.
with you,
No,
they don't
this is-
have GM friends.
no, that's not.
Yeah.
This isn't about
They're
the paying
abusing
part of
you.
it, though. This is about the people on Twitter saying stuff like that when you propose
People on
something for a
Twitter
rules.
say
But people on
I
Twitter
know
are
they
mentally
do.
retarded.
people
Yeah.
on Twitter are insane.
I know.
I'm
I'm
not
aware
there.
of that.
I totally agree with you, Nanya. There are unreasonable people, and
Yeah.
they're going to talk to you about
But that's also the
what
thing.
they're
That's like
upset about.
a big thing I often talk about. You know, like a lot of people, like and even Armin is there, like he's often watching and stuff like that. And we have like I think we have different vision of gaming and stuff like that. You see, like I've never had problem encountering when using outline map and miniature. I see it as but like it's fair, it's fine. We can play in different way. And at some point you just need to find like the right table for yourself, what you're looking for. Like some people are much more into the tactical shit and stuff like that. And like like if you want to do that, like I'm not gonna fucking shit on your table, right? I'm not gonna fucking shit on your game.
I
No,
definitely
It's not
I
what
am.
I'm
I'm
looking
going to find
for.
your house. I'm going to get up on your table. I'm going to squat down, and I'm going to poop. But I'm going to remember
Well-
to pull my pants down first because I don't want to poop in my pants.
It's a
Mind your
solution. It's a solution to. The point was though is that the topic was to find ways around that sort of stuff, as I understood it, and this is a way around it. So you get you present a solution, and then the solution isn't good enough either. So that's the frustrating part, because to me, doing this sort of stuff, it isn't about technicality. It isn't about heavy crunch. It isn't about, tactics or anything like that. It's about taking a game that was really cool in the past, that has a lot of really interesting mechanics and things that you can do. It's not, like I said earlier, you don't want to be, if it's a cheap gimmick, then it's just a cheap gimmick. But if it was something that was a lot of fun 30 years ago, but now it's not a lot of fun to a lot of people because the tolerance for math has lowered for whatever reason, this alleviates that. It alleviates the people that say, well, if I'm writing down 3 letters, I'm now doing taxes. But
But what is the
No, I've done my
know?
taxes. It's easier than most role-playing games.
Oh,
What's the complex
Because you don't have a revenue.
cool systems that you're
I
talking
do
about?
so.
What's the complex cool system like as an example?
Well, you said Rollmaster. To me, that was, of course, that's not that old, but there's Rollmaster. I've had a lot of people
Yeah.
come after me about MERPs being too complicated.
I
you know,
gotta
things like
say,
that.
I love those charts.
Yeah. I mean, they may look cool.
But that's that whole like what I'm talking about. Like I like to play games,
Yeah.
so I like to experience that sort of role-playing light, RPG light,
Yeah.
sort of board game
Yeah.
hybrid.
Right.
Like, that's
And
fun
Yeah.
to me too.
And I can enjoy that as well. Like, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna enjoy it as much in the long term. It's not
Yeah.
my main hobby.
It's not
You know,
my
like,
interest right now.
Like
for sure.
Yeah.
it can bring people into that.
Frostgrave. I like
Yeah.
Frostgrave.
Well, that was,
Yeah.
in fact, the software I'm talking about. The guy used Frostgrave in all of his examples and stuff like that. But the point is that now if you go, well, you know, if I handed somebody brand new MERP or something like that, or Harnmaster or something, they'd go, hell no. But if you go, don't worry about that, just come and play the game and let my machine and me handle it all for you. Now you can come and play the game and focus on the
Right.
decisions you want to make, which are the role playing and the interesting decisions.
Are you
That's the
selling these
point.
machines? Because you seem
No, I'm not
more
selling
on
this
this than
machine.
I am on Morkborg, bro.
Well,
I don't
I'm
know
just-
about that.
that
Let's
one.
take it easy.
but that's the thing too. Also, like it's always a question. Like, yeah, it's almost like
style.
a fix because you want to play like those game that now people see as too complex, rightfully or wrongfully so, whatever. That depends on how people see it. But you know, it's always like a way to a patch almost. You know, like a ad hoc fix, right? It's a
A
way
hot fix.
to resolve the issue that maybe the issue should be
I
resolved
just-
in design, right? Since we are kind of talking
Well,
about game design a lot.
but the thing is that a lot of those things were considered good designs because they are good designs, and they're just older designs that a lot of people look at as being too complex now.
Well,
So it facilitates the role playing versus the
See-
game mechanics is the point.
You see, that
Maybe.
is going to bring me to the next point I want to talk about. If you all are okay with moving on, if not, well, you can just like because we talk about the big like what we talk about mechanics that get in the way of role playing, of role play. We talk about the chart. We talk about the math. What else did we say? Like I would add to that like also like is one is a game that is too lucky, too swingy.
Mhm.
And for me that break my immersion because like if I'm supposed to be this competent guy at something and I roll like I feel
like
like 6
curves.
roll in a row that I got nothing above a 5, right?
yeah.
It break my like now like I have a hard time imagining like, well, okay, now I need to find reason why my character suddenly cannot do fucking shit, right? Cannot hit the guy. Like I'm a fighter, I can fucking hit somebody. So that's also getting in the way of my role play.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ever run 2d10 on a D&D?
I've thought
Instead
about
of a
it.
20?
It does.
Yeah,
it does
I
change
never
a
did.
lot of the probabilities. So.
I don't know. Is Bear still watching? Because we got to have that
No,
2d12
absolutely
for
not.
him.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's still watching, but it's
Oh, yeah.
2 hours and
Look.
22. But
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
actually,
I know what you're saying though, Max.
We got
It-
15.
I had the same issue because like I was first introduced to the hobby in 3.5 days, right? And so you playing a mid to high level fighter with multiple attacks per round, and you're just hitting how many ones now? Like because it's a 5% chance. It's just a D20, right? It's a 5%.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
but lots of bad streaks and good
Like
streaks.
so, it just doesn't. After a while, you're like, wait, huh? What? Like, why is it? It just I don't.
And
I'm
often
not
say,
a
like,
big fan of that.
In the D20s, like it's also like the weight of the luck roll is disproportionate to the modifier that you add, like your character part, right? Like, because I said, like in Pendragon, it's a D20 as well, but it's a D20 you roll under your skill. So now actually the value of your skill matters much more, right? It's a big difference if you have a 10 or a 15, right? It's like so, but yeah, in those kind of game, like the luck part. So for me, that's what else. What else would get in the way of role play? We'd say in terms of mechanics.
I think that damage is weird.
Damage.
Like
Yeah,
Damage is weird.
hit points are
hit points
are
is weird.
strange.
Well, that was another
Yeah.
one I came up with trying to eliminate, and I got the flack for it. But I thought that, and it goes back to the whole idea of Crispy was talking about having a combat that has more role playing involved with it. So what I did is I took everything and I made it where you're actually having some sort of physically descriptive thing happen to you. For example, you could have an eye poked out or lose a finger or something like that.
Roll master.
Well, right, but scaled down. You know, it's not like Phoenix Command where you're talking about splitting your liver in two and all that hardcore stuff, but just basic things like, you know, again, having your arm go limp because somebody hacked it halfway off or broke it or whatever it is. And you can when as a DM you can explain it better. You can, instead of talking about, well, you critically hit because you rolled that nat 20, you can say, well, you know, player A, or you know, whatever his name is, you know, swung his sword heavily and cracked your left rib or hacked off your right arm or whatever it is.
You just like name your target.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
And if you succeed, you actually do the damage you're aiming for.
Right, exactly that.
And your opponent doesn't get a repose and block the fucking over your
I've
attempting.
just kind of gotten used to explaining damage correctly and like ramping up the description of how devastating I stabbed you in the chest.
Yeah, yeah.
But
some of it does have to do with how, yeah, if you can just remind yourself not to be, you know, so clinical with the.
Just kind of going back to the way 28mm was like giving you those one word descriptors.
What's good about that is that it actually puts some of that description back into the hands of the player. And I like that. So whatever the social contract is. So if my players prefer to narrate their failures than their successes, they want me to narrate the successes.
One of my players killed themselves narrating their success or their failure.
Yeah, I've had players do the same thing. I'm like, wow, like he's describing himself getting tossed across the room and tearing out his ACL and he's hobbling around, and I'm like, dude, it was 5 points of damage.
You failed an athletics roll.
Like, but you know what? If you want to do that, then I'm not going to stand in your way. Let's do it.
That's a player sick and tired of playing that character.
Well, and fair enough. But I think he was just really into it. He was like, now I'm gonna have a limp, and it was cool. He was fine.
I gotta watch this series.
Yeah, what I found with the hit point and especially like hit point and AC, both of them together, like they're both like system that try to abstract a few things in each system, and there's a lot of overlap, right? It's like, hit point, it's not only like the flesh point, it's also like, you get tired, or how many times you can avoid getting damage and stuff like that. Like there's this element to it. And then AC, it's not just if your armor actually protect you, it's also if you dodge and stuff like that because of the dex, and just if the other opponent is out of range, like, you know. And now you have like those two mechanics that kind of work together in a sense, but also works against each other and try to abstract a lot of things together, and it's not clear cut. There's not a clear division, so that's something I find is gets a bit when you try to describe stuff, you know, like, no, okay, it didn't touch you because you moved away, it hit your armor, no, it was just like swinging wild, and you know, just like you I don't know.
In that example, Max, what I've been experimenting with is that when players say they want to narrate failures, they also narrate my failures. So so I like that too, because then and then we just play off one another. Like that's where that little bit of improvisation that comes in, and I think
I'm also not a big
helpful.
fan of
I steal those ideas, Crispy.
Try it out on your table. I'd love to hear how it goes.
I do exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
because you said
I'm also not a big fan of like a system where you roll to hit against a static AC. You know, I like opposed roll much more, like, especially because like, okay, I'm gonna try to hit you, like, if there's no like consideration if your flanks surrounded, hitting the back and stuff like that, at some point just become like, well, no, we're 3 against 1 and I'm trying to stab you in the back and I miss. I guess I assume I would have
Yeah.
hit you.
I've had
It's
that.
like-
That came up in our
that-
Mafia game. Like they had stuff had happened. Okay, stuff happened in the game,
Sounds
and
right.
at one point, one of the Sinaloa cartel has been captured, and the Mafia are going to go at him. Well, I'm not going to have you roll to hit when you've got your like snub nose 38 special pressed into his side. Okay, you're just going to shoot him.
You're
Like,
just going to do
there's-
the damage.
So like that's
that's what I was about to ask. Like, would you just like be okay with just saying like just
absolutely, I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. Absolutely, and that can go both ways, of course. And the players have to trust that we're
Players
not going to
love
abuse
that,
each
too.
other on that. You have to do that. Just
Yeah.
have trust. Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of people talking, and yeah, it's on Twitter, but but yeah,
I'm not
take a break
convinced
on
that there's
Twitter,
good
man.
discourse there.
there's still people. I don't know, man. But anyway, there's always a lot of people that really are hot about making sure people don't go to combat as their first option in resolution. So back to the whole hit point thing and having, don't you think that implementing that is a way to get better role playing and further as far as game design, discourage if it's something where you're not going to, imagine it this way. I always use this analogy, hopefully it'll work. If you were to get into a knife fight with somebody, no matter how well you think you would do, you're coming out ugly, right? So if you're going to get into a fight and it's going to potentially do something negative to you, irregardless of whether the person or the enemy is defeatable, it'll deter people from just going to combat immediately.
Yeah.
And then promote the role playing.
Well, I don't know. I guess my take on that, I take a little bit of an opposite view. I would say that if you're baking in a system that has hit points, then it's just another resource to manage. So that actually makes it more likely than not that we're going to have combat. Like if there wasn't hit points,
that's right.
Then every combat would have to be viewed as a life or death situation, right?
Exactly.
Like, unless we're just bare knuckle boxing or something, or whatever, we're in a ring. It's going to be. But if I have 55 hit points, well, then we'll just throw down, and then whatever. I don't have to really think life and death until I'm 15.
Especially with when like you're in a system where you're like 100% efficient until you get 0 hit point, right? If there's no like effect, you use those hit points, and you just like then it just really becomes like just a resource to manage. You know, I can get into that much round of combat before like I need to find a solution, right?
Right. That's why I took that out of there and I put that in there because it gave all those options where you can role play it out better.
I don't know. It depends. Are your I assume the players you have, none of you are randos because of the way
not always,
but not always. But if your players are good at being like, I've played a character with 2 hit points and still been the cavalier, always running into the front because that was the character's personality, right? Like, even though I knew that guy was going to die the first time he got hit, I still ran up in the front because, I'm sticking to the personality over the character sheet's stats.
Yeah. Well, it's right. But I'm talking about the idea of, I'm just going to go. People were saying, well, let's go kill a bunch of low level stuff because eventually it'll XP us up to another level.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
Isn't that Final Fantasy? Isn't that
right? So it's.
But if you only have 2 hit points left, then you're almost dead. And you
no, that's what his max hit point stats were 2. He couldn't be healthier than that.
Oh, okay. That's a weird game. You should be playing a very sickly person.
It was common when we used to roll. When you used to roll for hit point, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you have like a modifier for your con, wasn't that unusual?
But your statistics, your damage, all that stuff is abstracting something that you should be role playing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That I agree with. Yeah.
Right. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes,
Sometimes I don't agree with that.
I want it all the time.
In the first time, you might not know that you're. Does your character know that you only has 2 hit point, right? If hit point also abstract your luck and stuff like that, what?
I played in a game once where the game master tracked all hit points behind the screen.
Mhm.
And
Oh, yeah.
what he would do, all of it. So what he would just say is that you feel injured. And then injured meant that we were whatever, there was an impact. This was a long time ago, many years ago, like 20 years ago. But it was an interesting experiment because not knowing what your hit points are allows a little more, well, I'm injured. I'm not injured. I'm near death. We didn't know how close we were to death because he had kept all that hidden from us. It was an experiment. I don't know if it was successful or not, but I do remember it. So in that sense, it was interesting.
TSR's version was called Bio 1 back in the early 70s, but it was too complicated. So we just kind of had to dial that back to the simple stuff. You've lost or broken an arm, something like that. And it just gives people that deterrence because they don't want to get into a fight knowing that even if they can win at the end, they might be, missing something that they want to stay attached to, finger or an eye or whatever it is. So, and then it also eliminates, or something more personal even, because I did put that in there because I don't care. I'd give Beavis and Butthead, so what? It's still funny. And, but it also got rid of the math because now you don't have to count backwards. You just have to mark down the fact that you've been broken and maybe you can have that healed or whatever, that kind of thing. So.
One of the other things that we're sorry, go ahead, Max. You want to move on?
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. You can say.
I was just going to say that in this new setting that we're playing, 1970s New York City, 1975. What's interesting about it is that it's prior to modern settings where everyone's wearing Kevlar. So every fight is deadly. Yeah. Every time a gun comes out, everyone's like, "Whoa!" Right? Like this, and that's what I want. I want
that's good.
Systems where I'm walking over here.
Yeah, like it's like every time, like and that's what I want because I want it to be role playable,
right?
And it's hard to role play hit points.
Yeah,
because what is the difference between 75 hit points and 72 hit points? What, a scrape on your cheek? What is that? Yeah. What is it? Oh well, it's just an abstract thing. It's just it's not actually injuries. It's just wearing down your defenses. Well. Then that just makes for a slog unless you're doing 70 damage each time. Like I want something to be role playable. And in my mind, a combat that's going to take 2 hours is not something that's feasible to role play.
Health levels in World of Darkness do that.
Well, I would say something like 3 times the most powerful weapon in your game should be like a top level of hit points.
I like games where
it's one of the things I like about riffs, Palladium riffs, or Palladium, whatever I'm saying.
It sounds funny.
But it probably does because whatever. But what I like about it is you can be the baddest guy out there, but like 1 mega damage will wipe you out. So I kind of like that because then it's always like, well, yeah, I'm so tough, but outside of your fancy suit, you get erased by the smallest mega damage possible, right?
Yep.
Now, how do you play that with like a vibro knife that does 1d4 or 1d6? Like, I don't know. But
even in Rift, your hit point doesn't really increase, no, with level.
It does a little bit, I think.
Slightly, yeah.
Just
exactly,
it's your STC that goes up a little bit, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, your STC is meaningless. Your hit points are meaningless if you get hit with a mega damage weapon. You're just erased. So anyway, that's my comment. I just thought it was. I don't like these. I played them. I played the 2-hour combat where we're just grinding down each other's hit points, and then you got a healing surge, and thank you, I just got mass cure light or whatever it is, and now we just keep the grind going. That to me is you're better to go play Diablo or something like that. Right. You're just grinding it down like.
Those rounds also like where nothing happened, right? I miss.
That's
a fucking useless round, right? I want something. I want the combat to evolve every fucking round. If it's a stalemate,
unless it's one shot, one kill, in which case both people missing it's so bad.
But I don't mind that if they're both hiding behind a car, taking pot shots at each other like that. Yeah, can role play that out.
You have to have a easy system that handles what happens to that thing if it goes over my shoulder, without having to get into ballistics or any of the physics or anything like that. But there's that chance it might go do something else, bounce off a wall, hit the guy behind him, something like that. That way, no matter what happens, There's action.
Narrate the
But
failure.
I talk
and
about
be
that in the
descriptive.
guns within modern setting. I think I talked about it in a video in the past. Like thinking about when you start including gun in your setting, having this randomness, like that's interesting. I was talking about that with Victor actually, because Victor Gorchev is the gun guy and stuff like that. I said, man, you need fucking chart, like. Oh, you missed. Where does the bullet go? Does it fucking hit the propane tank of this restaurant in the background? If you include
Yeah.
like those kind of things too, that make it interesting and make the world more living. Like now
That's
that
I
if
rely
you
on
get a
my players to
passerby,
do
stuff
that,
like
Max. Yeah.
Yeah.
I rely on them to do that, and I'm happy to report back that with enough encouragement, players can do that, and then they can.
Yeah.
As soon as one person starts doing that, then others start doing it, and it just starts. And then it really helps if I can
It's almost like a
tie
good
the
competition.
failure to the next success, because I describe the successes. So that failure hit the balcony, it shattered the balcony, the handrail on the balcony. So now the success is he shoots him, kills the bad guy. Now he falls forward on the weakened balcony and falls over into the that's right, because I weakened the battery. Those kind of things, especially if you can play off each other's descriptions, then it's a really good role playing in combat, which is what I think should be happening.
Yeah. Arun said like it probably comes down to taste, but I prefer like a grounded but heroic fantasy like Lord of the Ring. The idea of just dying to any grimy orc knife seems boring to me. I like that. I like games that are very little, where you can you don't necessarily die in one hit, but one very good hit could kill you, right?
But
That's
It's a day ruiner for sure.
I'd like to say this. Everyone in Lord of the Rings felt like every orc could kill them, because every orc did have that ability.
and it's not like they got hit many times. Like if you think of the movie at least, because in the books, like you could just say it's not very described, but like they don't get hit that many times, right?
Yeah.
Frodo got stabbed once; he almost fucking died.
Only Boromir when he gets pincushioned by all those, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else is
but
basically
then
hit
he's
once.
dead.
Yeah, and then he's dead.
Yeah, the other one just don't get hit. But you have the assumption that if they did, they would be in trouble.
Well, like in the first movie where Frodo catches the giant spear, right? Nobody knew he was wearing the mithril undershirt, and he gets hit with that one instance. The whole thing, he got hit once. Oh, now he's down. Oh no.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing with movie IP RPGs is you have to get your players to understand that you aren't in the movie. You're making a different type of story, and that things that happen in that story happen because it was Hollywood and they needed to further a particular storyline. I had that problem with people in Star Wars that wanted to, you can't do anything to that AT-AT, blah blah blah. Well, it's a little different.
Also,
like in the movie, they kill hundreds of orc each. Like they kill,
they?
Yeah, that.
Do they? I don't
kill
recall that outside of the battle scenes where they're like
in battle. They count like at 20 or something like that.
Yeah, the badass 3.
Yeah, but it's
fuckload of.
That's not something I like. I like either. And personally, it's not in my taste in fantasy, because then if you kill like thousands of orc, like each orc become like meaningless, like it's not a threat, right? Just like and it's the same thing when you play like the modern Diablo. I like the old Diablo, the Diablo 1 we played on this channel a few times with Justin.
But will we be back at that anytime soon? Or?
We will be back at that at some point. Like, I'm just so damn busy right now.
Yeah, but, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, but and if you compare with the more recent Diablo, when you just walk around like spamming those arrow effects and stuff like that, and you kill like monster by 1,000, like then I don't know, it just means nothing. Like in the old Diablo, oh man, there's fucking 3 zombies. I better back off and try to pin them in it's different vibe. But yeah, it's a matter of taste. At the end of the day, I know I'm kind of losing on that one. People want the power fantasy.
Well, gentlemen, I have to run. I got to get up early. So thank you for the conversation, and
thank you for
it was
by,
an interesting conversation. Hopefully, we got something out of it, but
definitely
other than 2 hours and 42 minutes.
Definitely gonna check out your gangster game.
That sounds good.
You have it on your channel.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun, and I'm really enjoying it. It's great. You can see we've got our, the face guy, and the old hitman. I showed you him, Giovanni.
Video, right?
Yeah, this is in person.
I thought you were
Yeah.
playing as some
You
savage.
even have a ginger. There you go. So there you go. Got
Oh wow, O'Brien. Yeah, an Irishman.
yeah. So that's right. Irish.
Oh.
So yeah, it'd be fun. And then I do these kind of things too. So like I'll do images of key people that they'll meet, the FBI agent, the cartel guy, the femme fatale, of course.
We should talk about that visual support at some point because
It's fun to have some of that. Yeah, most of it's just description, and that's fine too. But
yeah, like I'm not a big. I'm actually finding I'm not that a big fan of visual support in general.
I don't.
We'll
I
talk
use
about
way
that
less
some
than
other
I
day.
used to. What I've learned is that the players really enjoy in using their own imagination and coming up with it. And we'll talk about it afterwards. And like, oh yeah, no, I pictured it this way. And then what's really cool is then when we're really into it, how closely we all picture things, which is kind of an interesting thing that happens.
Yeah. Only every now and then to get a flavor of what's going on, and then the rest let the players fill in.
Yeah, and the players fill it in, and it works great. But anyway, I got to run. I'll leave you to it. Thank you for letting me come on, Max. I appreciate that.
Oh man, you're always welcome, Crispy.
Catch you
always,
another time. Good to see you,
lovely
Nunya,
young.
Phil, Justin. We didn't see you, Justin, but we heard you.
That's what I look like.
It's the echoes of Morkborg again and again.
I almost want to play it.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Party on, man.
Justin, if you were to shill a game and mention it constantly, you should have picked one with a less annoying name.
No. The half the fun is the name, okay? Half the fun. The other half is the yellow cover.
Yeah, the yellow. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. So anyway, we talk about one thing I want to talk about because it's a particular interest to me, is like we talk about mechanics that get in the way of role-playing games sometimes. We can disagree on some stuff like that, but like, and I wish Crispy was still here to talk about that, to be honest. But like,
Great.
I would love to have his take on that as well, because like the solution, and Nunya, you can talk to that, because now people say, oh, it's too complex. It's like the solution people always go for now is going for rule light system. We want to role play, we're going to try to get like a rule light system where the rules get out of the way and stuff like that. And I cannot disagree with that. I think you could have, and that's what I'm trying to do with WinterDarn. I think you could have a game with some crunch, because I do enjoy some crunch. I want something that I can bite on, right? I want something to sink my teeth into. But I think there's a way to do crunch that could not get in the way of role play, and hopefully even support role play, and that's what I'm trying to do with WinterDarn. And I'd like to have your takes on that.
Sure. Yeah, we did that. We would use like, I did that with all sorts of things, not even role-playing games, but for example, it's not a role-playing game, but it still functions, because you could take this into a role-playing account. You used to play an old game called Atari Star Raiders. Anybody remember that game? Yeah,
no.
Older than so. I'm old, but the point is,
You're not shadow old.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty old, but whatever. Anyway, we played that game.
No one's shadow old.
And we put a couple of people in front of a bunch of old calculators and stuff to make it look like we were playing Star Trek. So when we play something like Star Wars, when we put out the screens have a thematic look, and you interact with the screen. Like, for example, a data pad is something that's big in Star Trek too, but you use these kind of large options thematically. Another great example, again, it's not role playing, but still plays, is Twilight Imperium, the big board game. Everybody, I remember reading this article where a guy made the whole point. He says most people would look at that game and go, "Holy shit, that's going to take forever. I'll never be able to play it." But because every component of that game was thematic, it still drove, pulled people in to want to play it. So there's ways to do that sort of thing. And what I was trying to say with Crispy too, the other thing is he was talking about how cool it was that the spider climb could have all these different deals, but it got too complex because of the dumb dice and all that sort of stuff. What I like to do is find something chart that may be complex like that, but people go, "Oh, it was so fun, but it took forever." Okay, well, now I've got this thing that I bought
Mhm.
that does it for you, so you can have that cool option without busting your brain going through 5 different charts or bad dice rolls or whatever procedure it took in order to achieve it. Right?
Yeah, that could be one solution, I guess. Like I said, in my
Um,
mind, it's a bit of a crutch almost, like because you're taking like, oh, we use technology to solve a design problem, which all right, it's fair. It does.
Sometimes you can do that, but
Yeah.
sometimes you can spend a little bit better time, a little bit more time designing it better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I'd like to
already
see
exists.
more. But
Yeah, it's like
The one thing I think is a good spot for crunch is downtime, and this may
yeah,
be kind of a cop out on the answer. But like what you were describing, Pendragon, I don't know if that's how it works, but like you
yeah,
have those
the winter phase,
sections where you go through, yeah, the winter phase or whatever.
winter phase. Yeah,
That'd be fun. It's like a fun game you get to play like on your own. I don't know.
yeah, it's the winter phase in Pendragon. That's in the end of the session and the end of the adventure. Like in you're just rolling on a bunch of charts because you in Pendragon the assumption is you're gonna do one adventure in the season, and then you go back to your manor and you take care of your stuff and stuff like that, and then you roll on a bunch of charts to see what happened during this year. Does your horse survive and stuff like that? Do you have any child that are born? And
I mean, you're not
is there
role
any
playing.
child that die and stuff like that? It's not role playing,
Yeah.
but it does inform your role play in the next session though quite a bit, right?
Mhm.
If you have a new
Yeah.
child or if you have a child that died and stuff like that, that's interesting. Now something happened to the life of your character.
That's true.
yeah.
But it's a bit of a different type of play because you play like every session almost. Your character age 1 year, so you go to the life of that character pretty fast, and at some point your character die, and then you play son, right? And
But is the actual like other portion rules light? Would you describe it or no?
the rest of the game is pretty light, I would say. Yeah, it's there's not that much going on, and you have like it's kind of like in middle because it's not quite rule light. You have a one system, you roll under your skill, but as high as you can with the d20. But then you have like the virtue system and stuff like that. That's a little bit more clunky. But it's not crunchy. It's kind of like middle of the road kind of game in
But
the actual play.
That's
But
what I like.
some things that are, well, first of all, one problem is the opinion that just because the rules light, that means that they're a better design. I don't necessarily
Yeah.
agree with that.
Not
I don't
always.
either.
But sometimes, like take Hunt for Red October. To me, if I was going to role play that's not even that story, just being a sonar guy on a sub guy. Phil, didn't you say you were in the Navy? Were you?
Yeah.
Submarine or anything like that? The
Carriers.
Oh, well, okay.
Mm.
So if you were in the CIC, the CIC would be. Did somebody just walk through my door?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
I hope you know her.
A young blonde lady.
Jesus. So anyway, just doesn't look like.
You can go you only if
They
you
can.
want.
People can see you.
What would you? I would play Hunt for Red October.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you want to role play the CIC on a carrier, there
Sure.
would be, in order to really immerse yourself in what's going on in the CIC, you would probably need to at least address some of the electronics involved in that sort of thing. The
Sure.
radar. And all
Otherwise,
that
what are
stuff.
you doing?
Right.
You think so? Because like I have no idea what I don't even know what a CIC is, right? So I would, like if I
Command
want
and
to play this
control.
role, I have.
The bridge, right? Kind of,
Yeah.
right? In
Oh.
that kind.
But then I have like no idea what the mechanics are, but my character wouldn't know. So if you ask me as a player to like kind of like simulate them interacting with those dials, well, then I just cannot play that character, right? I would assume that my character wouldn't know, and I would have to like a mechanic to abstract that, right?
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah, I
but
agree
if
with that.
okay,
I agree with everything.
But if you know you're going into that kind of game, right? And
Yeah.
this is why I think fantasy is so popular on this, because you can just bullshit yourself through it. But if you're going into that kind of game, you could do a little bit of research beforehand. If you know that,
Sure.
right? Like, okay, I'm gonna play the sonar operator on
Good example is
carrier.
like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like so much technology is linchpins to that whole setting.
Yeah, if you don't,
But
If you don't
that's
know
a
what
great
a
example.
transporter is,
Right. If you don't know
Yeah.
what it is, you ain't going to
or a
play. And it's
tricorder,
all that technology is involved, and you have to
Hey,
know it.
whoa.
Yeah.
Max knows everything about the setting, so don't get anything wrong.
I don't. I'm not a
That's a
Star
lot
Trek fan.
of fucking
Yeah.
bullshit.
But it gets to the point where if everything's so watered down that it's just like
Boring
boring,
bastard.
you know. It
No, I
gets,
agree.
you know,
I agree with you. Like
honestly,
because if you go like one extreme, you have like those games like a laser and feeling when you have like two stat that always add up to 12. I think right. It's one stat is laser and one stat is feeling, and you have to roll under your stat, and it's like always
I looked at that.
either
It's
one thing or
too
the other, right?
minimalistic.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
There's
That's
just
too minimalistic. Like it's just like at
yeah.
some point just become like goofy, right? It's like, but if you want to do like an example of like how who light can you go, right? That's pretty much like one N, right? And how
Sometime in
crunchy
the
can you
new
go? Then you
year,
have like fatal, right?
sometime in the new year, instead of doing one of these talks, we should play that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I'm game.
I don't know if the game will be game though.
I honestly don't think I learned anything about the bridge of a submarine from Hunt for Red October, outside of the fact that
There is one.
there's a sonar guy
well,
and a periscope.
I played a game called Harpoon, and I learned more about sonar acquisition. And I'm just a dumb tanker in the army. I mean, I ain't no
Yeah.
Navy guy, but I learned
I'm
more
down
about
for that. Yeah.
yeah, I learned
Mhm.
more about that kind of stuff just from playing that game than anything, because it took into account conversion zones and all this stuff, and the thermal layer and saltination and all that sort of stuff. Now,
Oh,
But
if I handed that
was
to
that
somebody now, they'd go you know, and all that. But
that's what I was. I was
was that a
engineering.
role playing game? Was it like a war game or?
I consider war games role playing games. It was that you were all playing a commander on a ship or a crew of a
Mhm.
ship, and you had to. But yeah, it was a war game in that you were fighting
It's
a war.
competitive.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah. It was
yeah, because
It
like
was.
I can enjoy those type of game, but for
Mhm.
me it's a very different experience than when I'm role playing game, right? When
Yeah.
I'm in a role playing game, like I like because I like fucking I like mechanics, I like crunch, I like going into the detail, I like tactical game, board game, word game, whatever. I can enjoy that a lot. You know, I like thinking about that stuff, but it put me in a very different mindset than when I'm role playing.
Well, see,
Uh,
that's the weird thing. It was if you did you see the Blackmore movie? That thing about Blackmore and
no, I never saw it. I heard about it. I never saw it.
Documentary.
yeah. See,
Yeah,
it all comes out of the same thing, which was
Yeah,
yeah.
the Kriegspiel.
yeah.
And you're putting yourself into a role. Now, whether that role be a military commander or a guy that wants to go kill dragons or whatever, it's still a role. And
But
the
there's a difference though, because like
Mhm.
I think in a war game, a lot of the question was like if in historical war game while people were doing Napoleonic and stuff like that, the question was like, if I was the general in that battle, could the battle end up with a different result, right? So you start with all the same troop, the same context, the same situation, then you put yourself in the role of the general, and then you try to win or you try to change
Mhm.
the outcome of the battle, right?
Yeah,
It's a different thing than because now you're
that's
putting
only
yourself in the
right.
general instead of putting the general in you, right?
That's
I don't know if you see like a
yeah, but
Mhm.
that's when you're playing a single scenario as opposed to a
Yeah,
campaign. Dawn Patrol, great example, even better one, because there's a lot of people always saying, "Oh, Dawn Patrol is just a military game with an RPG theme." No, the reason why everybody says that is because the usual, "Oh, it's complex. It's too complex to play. It takes too long to play. Blah blah blah. Charts this, that, the other." But if you went and played the thing all the way out, and you used it as a campaign instead of playing one scenario where you played the pilot that was seeking glory and fame from being a pilot, from being able to survive and move from mission to mission, then you have a role playing game, much more
but
so.
if you
You know.
do you play with the limitation of your character, or do you always
Hmm.
try to put yourself like to play at the best of your capacity? Like, you know, it's always like you interacting with the mechanics, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it's you roll up a character, and
Yeah.
you have it's very, it even has ethnic names that you pick from, a list of them. Like if you're a Belgian pilot, your Belgian names, and you're not playing any of the
Like
you know,
Parisien.
yeah, none of the aces. You can't be the Red Baron. I mean, technically, if you want it, you can play any way you want, but there's no Red Baron, option or anything like that. So you're playing the average guy, and the point is that everybody goes, yeah, but you die right away. Welcome to the world. When in that situation, there was a handful of guys that were really good, and the rest were dog meat for the guys that were, So if you're one
Yeah.
that makes it through a couple of missions, then all of a sudden you start to get famous. You start to get medals. You start to get better, and then you can get even better as you go on. So there's a progression. There's a role play. It's everything that role playing has. It just happens to be a military theme. But that's the kind of thing that I look for with these, and that people consider that game complex, but it's that complexity is the immersion. It's being the pilot. It's learning how to be the better pilot than your opponent, and you have to learn how to maneuver that plane to do so. And there's the technicalities of that maneuver.
Yeah, but you're a pilot,
Mm-hmm.
and as a player, you're kind of learning how to be a pilot, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know. That's kind of different.
On a side note, if anyone could drop a link to the Blackmore documentary in Mr. Max's Discord, that would be appreciated.
I thought it was a commercial thing, wasn't it? Don't you have to pay
Yeah,
for it?
you have to look it up on Vimeo and shit like that. Yeah.
Okay.
You can rent it on Vimeo.
I was looking for it on IMDb, and I was just getting a thing for Richie Blackmore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's Secret of Blackmore. I'm sure you can find it on IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
No? Am I doing that right now? Maybe.
3 of them.
That's all. Well, that's almost like a. I try usually not to Google stuff when I'm on stream.
Well,
That's fair.
Yeah, say something,
Hey.
motherfucker.
Hey, did you?
Morkborg? Have you played Morkborg?
Is Morkborg in the Blackmore documentary?
I doubt it.
Maybe it should be though. That's the sequel.
I got it right here. I'll put it in the YouTube chat there. Well, there you go. Yeah, IMDb, The Secret of Blackmore.
Well, you can ask the guy on Twitter. He's always on Twitter.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Is it Chris Grave?
Yeah, I think that's his name. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the link is in the chat, and if you know what to do with the IMDb link to watch movie, then you know what to do.
But that was, that all started from the idea of playing a multiplayer game as combat commanders. And you were a commander and you were a staff, and everybody on the staff had their own job, and they all worked together against another team. It was military training, is what it was designed to be back in the 1700s. But it was still a role playing, and you had 3 arbitrators. There were 2 runners and 1 head guy, and he was the guy that had the map. And you didn't have you had a map, but you didn't have a map that had all the active units and things going on. You just had a survey map, and they would come and tell you, this is what you see. You might not have all the terrain information that might, so it's just like a dungeon master saying stuff to you, and then you gave your.
That's funny because when I was talking to Max Liao from the channel Legend of Myth, right? I talk to him often, and he works in a center that do the wargaming for the He works he's like technical guy, basically in the war center, in the wargaming center for the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about that and saying, I think in this sense of wargaming, role playing as a big part of it, because when you do wargaming, you want to solve a scenario, you have to be able to put yourself in the shoe of somebody else, right? And
Right.
I think you don't see that much in modern wargaming when people people go play Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer 40k, right? They don't put themselves in the shoes of nobody. They're just there themselves trying to win the game. Like it's a competitive endeavor and stuff like that.
Right.
When you do wargaming for the military, you try to win the scenario, but you also not by all means, because you want to figure out like, okay, what would the Russian do in that situation, and then you have to understand that they don't think, they don't value the same thing as you, they don't, so in that sense you have to put yourself in the role of Putin or Xi Jinping or whatever, like, you have to put yourself in the role of somebody else and understand that it's not me that is there, so the decision I have to take. But yeah, in just playing with miniature, I haven't seen that much, but maybe also people play campaign less than they used to.
Oh yeah, all that's because it's all the same stuff, and that's why I get a little bit of a wild hair, because I've been hearing that shit for decades. Oh, it's too complicated. It takes too long. Jesus Christ, it's like being on the radio and all they ever play is Stairway to Heaven. It just keeps going and going and going. They throw it at
worst
everything.
song ever.
Yeah,
They play it once and it feels like that's the only thing they're playing for
Right.
a decade.
I've gone into game designer forums where I'll just go, hey, what about this idea? And 3 people. Well, that will just take too fucking long. That's just too complicated. It's too crunchy. And it's just like, it just come up with something, give me a good reason for it. And I've had people give me, it's too complex as a reason for all sorts of shit that didn't mean anything about complexity or length. So I kind of get
people
well,
they just want to get away with the conversation. Just like, say, I'm not into that shit, right?
Right, just say that.
I'm just too complex. Exactly.
Yeah. I don't dig playing about starships. I don't dig playing about tanks. Okay,
It's also when I hear people say about 90% of the time when I hear people complain about rules light games, what they're talking about is it can't be used for a roleplay, a war game, right? Like it's like. It's not the rules for you to move. Well, it's the complaints. Like whenever I ask people to,
there's
no
mass combat rule, right?
There's no mass combat rule. There's no numbers for how
there's
big
no
a square
play.
Really, because it's interesting because the thing that I brought up earlier, the 2 names, von Reiswitz and Verdi.
Yeah.
Okay,
but they use measuring sticks.
So what? I mean, that's
the same. Those
no big deal. So what? I use a measuring stick on D&D. So what? I use a tape measure.
That's not role playing. That's a war game.
No, it's not. It's the same thing.
Yes, that is a war game.
No, it's the same thing. That's the whole point of the Blackmore thing. Is you'll see.
I've played freaking like old Napoleonic games, man.
Yeah.
I know what a war game is.
Right, and that's what they started out playing.
But we're talking about something that's changed from that.
Yeah.
D&D is a war game. If you've never used a role,
it is.
Yeah, it is. And
kind of is.
If you
haven't
used a measuring
game, the thing has evolved from that. It's supposed to have cut that away.
No, that's not. I've used a measuring stick.
Well, then you're like, seriously, you're in the wrong show then.
No. It's all the same thing.
Is there a tank version of the game you were talking about, like the pilot game?
Well, it would be
or like you have a tank crew or whatever.
Yeah, it's called Patton's Breast.
Patton's Breast. Have you played
Best, not Rest. Yeah, I have played that. It's probably better as a solo game. Yeah, okay. Risk is risk, but there's one for B-17s. There's all sorts of. There's one guy in Japan that's making it for everything. He's made it for Spruance destroyers. He's made it for what else? Oh, that new plane, the F-35. He's done a bunch of them like that. And they're all just kind of.
All those games sound really interesting, but I don't know, man. It definitely feels more like that half board game, half role playing game.
Yeah, well, it's just like.
Which I have no problem with at all. I love that shit. But.
Well, like I said, I brought up the 2 men, and von Reiswitz was the one that did a lot of rules heavy stuff, and it wasn't really rules heavy. It was just that here's your chart for firing, here's your chart for marching, all that sort of stuff. And then there was Verdi, and he was was he French or was he just had a French name? He was one or the other. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, his name was Verdi, and he was very rules light in that you don't need a lot of rules. You just need to know how to maneuver around the map. And you should already know that because, again, this was made for officers to learn how to command troops in the 18th century. So presuming that you already know how to put your men in formation. And but everything else was just just do it. Just tell me what you want to do, and we'll tell you how it works out. It was very rules light. It was very role playing. You and your group were staff. You all played a role in that staff. You had a arbitrator that was a DM. But things like hex crawls, this is why there's no difference. How do you figure out how far you're going to move on a hex crawl map? If you're going to make a game and you want to give your people a movement rate, how do you do that? The same way you do it if you're doing a hex war game. The same way.
But that's the thing. If you play an X crawl, I don't play X crawl, right? Like I'm okay with that once in a while and stuff like that, but that's not my preferred way of playing when I play role playing game, because for me, that's going too much into the war game. Like it's going too much into like the or this board game stuff like that, right? Just
Okay.
like,
But if you're going
it's
to-
not, it's not what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for like this collaborative, cooperative, emergent narrative coming up. Like I want to tell the story of those characters. Like I want to see, like, figure out what's happening to those characters and focus on the interesting part. I don't care about, like, if you want to walk somebody, I'm not going to do like every day of walking if nothing happened, right? Oh, okay, let's roll on the chart. Oh, nothing happened. Okay.
So
next
if you
day,
move from
you know?
if you move from one city to the other, you don't have any way of measuring how long that takes to make that trip.
Yeah, I do have a way to measure how long, but like I don't have like a fixed map. I don't play with a fixed map either, right? It's if you say like, oh, we want to move the capital, like, and the capital is gonna be like it's 4-day walk if you go by foot or whatever, right? Now it's set in the world, so every time you're gonna make this trip, it's gonna be 4-day, right? But I don't like it's kind of like decided on the moment, right? We're creating the world and the event as we go, right? Because it's like almost like if you look at a movie and stuff like that, like you don't know before the event happened how long it's gonna take, right?
Yeah.
So
Or because you ask somebody like, oh, how far away is the capital, and then they tell you like, if you go by walk, it's gonna take you for 4 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you might have some predetermined fixed locations, but
Yeah.
the space in between is for your party to create. Not just the players, the whole party, including the game master, during the session. But on top of which, if you had a hex map, that should be in between session stuff. Like it's not like you don't
a lot of this stuff is just, it's like, people that just want to hit fast forward, and that's fine, but that's not, you're trying to make some, I mean, a lot of times you end up finding errors. Things don't have any consistency. You try to guesswork things that could easily be done in a fixed manner and close a lot of loopholes and inconsistencies.
But sometimes when you're moving as a group of people, going from one town to the next takes you three or 4 days, and then some other time it might take you a week and a half because the roads have deteriorated, the weather's different, someone's injured.
Welcome to a war game. That's exactly a war game.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
But you don't keep track of it the same way as you do in a role playing.
That's game. All. So it all just comes. This is what I'm saying. This is why it's so frustrating. It's always just, well, I don't want to write this down. I don't want to keep track of stuff. I don't want to do this, that, or the other thing. Okay, we get it. You don't like certain math or effort or whatever, but it doesn't change the concepts. You're just trying to go around stuff that requires a little bit of specificity or thought or whatever. But it's still a war game. It's just all the same stuff. And they all had move rates in AD&D, and they had all that same sort of stuff. It all came out of the same idea. All those guys did was, hey, we're tired of playing the French versus the Austrians. And we just saw Lord of the Rings animated version. So now we want to have the Ents and the Orcs instead of the Austrians and the English. That's it. They just converted it.
So
same thing.
Definitely helps you stay
the same
consistent.
place. The game has changed, right?
Not really. No, it really hasn't.
But it's just a matter of like what you want to focus on, right? Because we have like limited time. You all have limited time, and for me, this is not the interesting part when I focus on a role-playing game, right? I want to focus. I don't want to do like the mundane stuff. I don't want to do like the daily chore. I want to do like now like it's the morning. Roll for ration spoil overnight, and roll for like.
Nanya has an app for that.
Even if you have an app for that, even like going to like, it's not like.
Why would an app be a big deal, though?
Fast forward.
We have an app for everything else on the planet. What's the difference? The thing, that's the point, though, is there's some
I think the big drawback for me on the app is just that like desire to have the low tech solution
Yeah.
at a live table, but
Also, like,
online,
I didn't have a smartphone. I didn't have a cell phone until 2020, right?
Sure.
Just to give you an idea. So
Right. I had a, I had a
And
1982.
this guy was in computer, like the field of computers, and he still didn't freaking have that shit.
Well, I had one sitting right next to my game the whole time, all the way from Tandy 600s, where I had to have the RAM soldered into it because it was so old. But it's just a tool. It's really not that big of a thing, really. I never understood the info. Jesus,
the
and
lack of
yeah.
tech being preferred.
yeah, I mean, it's just you got the thing in your pocket all the time. It used to be people would be
I
like,
don't
"Well, I
want
don't."
to touch it. Like
It's kind
Well,
of like someone sitting at a table with like a newspaper open. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm trying to play a game with you. You know what I mean?
Right. And somebody used to say, "Well, I don't want to haul my big computer over to the table." Well, now
Yeah,
the thing
that's-
fits in your hand.
so.
Well,
You
for
know.
sure, it's not. It
So
has
what?
nothing to do with portability.
So it's a matter of
It should-
preference. It doesn't. Here's the point.
for sure.
It's
yeah,
it's
it's a matter of
still
preference.
yeah, right. It still solves the problem. Whether you want to approach and use the problem, that's your decision. But that doesn't change the fact that it solves the problem.
But when the
There's
solution is worse
Yeah,
than the problem,
but like that is the thing. Like, it might solve the problem for you, but I want to look for a solution elsewhere, right? It's not the solution I'm looking for.
100% preference.
Yeah, preference, exactly, and that's all right. We cannot all like. There's room for everyone.
I do not doubt the validity of technology. First,
right.
no,
Yeah.
and it definitely sounds like it would make all the consistency issues that you're talking about go away.
Yeah, and that's all it is. It's just that it's instead, and I found that the other thing about rules light that sometimes is a problem is I found people that had such a strive for, and I right now what I'm doing is trying to get people to play rules light games, so it's not necessarily an either or. But in the past, I've seen where people there was one called Axis and Allies Miniatures, and again, it's a war game, but the point still stands. We don't want a squad leader. Anybody heard of squad leader? It's totally the AD&D of
Yeah.
World War II. It's just fucking huge. So they said, we want everything light. We want everything light. So they got it. And when they started playing it, they're like, oh, this is so boring. It's missing this and it's missing that. So what did everybody do? They immediately started adding things to it. That's what I found in stuff like General Magazine and Dungeon and
Those sound
Dragon.
like people that are wanting to play a game and less of like an emergent narrative
Well,
type situation.
they're both the same
There's-
thing to me.
Yeah,
there's
but
something I often
they're
say,
two
like
different rules.
oftentimes, like a lot of game that thought themselves as being rule light, oftentimes to me seem like they're not rule light, they're half design, right? They give you like half a game,
Right. That's
half
right.
the rules of a
That's
game.
what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
And there's those big old for things that are not covered in the game that would be thing that you normally expect to encounter in a role playing game, right?
Right. That's what they got with the thing.
Yeah.
Miniatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I think oftentimes, like, people use the rule light thing as a fucking cop out, or like sometimes some game are just fucking like badly designed. Like, I talked to a game designer at some point for a game, and I said, hey, man, reading your rules and like shooting somebody, you roll against your skill, and that's all you give me. Like, there's no accounting for what I'm shooting, right? Is he far? Is he small? Is he big? Is he dexterous?
Yeah.
At some point, that just like it's just like then every time I shoot somebody, every time I shoot something, it's the same thing that I need to hit. And he replied to me, "Oh, it's meant to be a rule light game, much more narrative focused." Well, yeah, but you still need to have rules that make sense and that
Right.
support the narrative of the world, right?
Yeah. It's a matter of
Like, oftentimes it's used as a cop out. That's what I'm saying.
yeah. You
Yeah,
gotta, you
there
gotta,
are flaws with roulette systems, but
Yeah.
there are flaws with every system. But you're
Yeah,
still,
but and not every system, not every rule light system is flawed. Some of them are very functional or good. Like
Yeah.
there are some good rule light system. If you, but you have to understand what you're getting into when what the game is trying to do. But it's easier to design a rule light system than it is to design something like crunchy and complex that work well. Although in game design, adding complexity is also easy. You can every time you have a question, you can add a new system and stuff like that. But then your game is going to become like unmanageable. A big part of game design is trying to simplify. You create something, it's works, but it's unusable because it's too complex, and then you try to trim it down and make it more elegant. That's a big part of game design, in my opinion. But a lot of people just say like, "Oh, I want to
Yeah.
do my own game." It's just like, "Oh, there's 3 rules, and you just do that, and it works." And just like the GM can educate the rest. Well, if you put the onus on the GM to design the rest of your game, right?
Yeah. You want your rules to be deep and not wide, and your setting to be wide and not deep.
Well,
Right? Like you want your rules to not be overly complex and require you to learn a lot of stuff up front, but to have depth to them. And you want your setting, your world history to not require you to know every NPC in the world.
well, the problem is that there's some people, like, for example, the guy who told me, "Oh, if I have to write down 3 numbers, it turns into
Well,
you know,
yeah, but
axes.
you're also now
You know what?
talking about edge cases and like this.
Yeah.
No,
you
what I'm
just keep
talking about
doing
is
that
some-
every time people try to have like a conversation with you. I knew this one guy that said I had to write down numbers. Like you just keep saying the same thing, man. It's like me
What?
saying Morkborg every 20 minutes, but I'm doing it as a
Come on,
joke.
Come on,
What?
play nice now, like Justin. So what do you want to say, Nunya?
The point is that there's some people that will turn everything into complexity, and I don't see that it's efficient and or designing well to bend your ass backwards to get around what is a hyperbolic and ridiculous claim. Well, if you have them, if you have a real problem with a certain mechanic or trying to achieve something, and you need to slim it down, that's one thing. But if you say, "Hey, here's an option that makes this thing work better," and you get somebody that goes, well, I have to put pencil to paper, so fuck that. Well, look, man, are we really solving a problem, or are we just dancing around
Nobody
your
here is
desire?
saying that.
Well, it doesn't matter that nobody here is saying that. My point is that I'm trying to look at what people that are interested in games that have come to me and looked at game design, examples of times where there's people
Well,
discuss game design.
You gotta vet your.
Yeah, you got to vet. You take advice from.
I'm sorry you're taking money from them, but
No, I'm not taking money from them. These are just people I'm talking to on Twitter, where I have discussions about game design.
well, they
Stop
did
And
not
I've had
hold the
people on Twitter, they're
perspective.
retarded.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
don't-
Well,
we're
just
joking
keep-
about. We're joking about earlier about like, "Oh, I'm totally ready to have an opinion about something I know nothing about." That's people on Twitter. That's all.
Yeah.
They have opinion about people that stuff they know nothing about. They're don't put too much credence on what they say.
No, but but you're looking at, again, you got people that are coming to you and you say, "Hey, I've got this design and I'm looking at selling it and I'm trying to talk about the things about it." If I just blow everybody off that I don't like because they said something I don't agree with or sounded stupid, now I don't have anybody to sell it to. See, so you gotta
well,
work
it
with these
depends on the
people.
criticism, but
Well,
that's cool.
Yeah.
At some point, you just have to say like, "Here's the design I have. Here's what I'm doing. Is what I got. If you like it,
Yeah.
it's there
Your
for you.
role
gotta find-
response.
Then go find something else, right? It doesn't
Now,
matter.
if we
Your-
could just roll this back, like
Yeah.
a simple system that that has like modifiers for all these like situations that you think might arise, like range and what type of ammo I'm using and all that stuff. Do you need a list of modifiers, or can it just be like, GM, this is a more accurate, this is,
No, if I have those modifiers, you don't need to know them. All you need to know is I want to take this shot at this.
But I'm saying
range or
like to
whatever.
make a good system.
Yeah, it's an easier way
Does
to
it-
do it instead of
does
bending
it
my ass
need-
backwards, coming up with a way to get around that because
You can't write a number on a piece of paper. Or...
No, because if I don't have modifiers, then I don't have variance.
But I
in
mean,
the
you have a
different.
general idea as to what
Well, just think of it
what
as
a difficult shot is. You know what the modifier should be.
yeah.
Like, do
and
you really need that much guidance based on every ammo type and every range and
dependent on the situation and what you're doing. See, there's the other thing when it comes to complexity. What are you trying to achieve? If you
trying
want
to achieve a very good cooperative narrative game that's
it depends.
But that's the thing, like there's some people, like especially when you go into war
Depends.
games, some people want something that's very realistic and that simulate the real world. So you have to like take into account the wind and
And then
the
you have charts.
distance and the humidity, and then you have and some people want that.
Charts in and of themselves
It's-
aren't bad. It's
it's
just
not something I want.
obsessively complex ones that
Yeah.
are.
Well, everything is excessively complex to somebody. That's the point. Look, if you want to have,
And
if you
the
want,
ones
Is
that consider the bare minimum ones to be complex, you don't play with.
no, you're trying to sell something with. I'm not worrying about who I can play with. I'm trying to sell something to some people. So the thing is that
Well, eventually you have to have artistic integrity, and
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
but
of course,
but
yeah.
you also have to have people that
People
want
don't
to
know what
buy
they
the
want.
thing. Yeah, well, that's
They
the
don't know.
thing.
Well,
They don't
like,
know what they
if-
want.
if-
a lot of
if you-
times.
exactly, you always
That's
have
why you
someone
create
that
a
will disagree.
product and you put it out there, and those who buy
Yeah,
it buy it, and
well,
those who
anyway.
don't.
That's we discussed earlier. Like with I started the stream talking about the MCDM game, right? That is making like now 2.8 million on backer kit, right? And I'm saying like a lot of people are gonna be disappointed because like they back this game because they like Matt Colville for some reason, but the game design they're gonna get is
Well,
it's not gonna be what
potatoes
they
are
expect.
potatoes are very comforting, and he does have really nice hair. That's all I
but
can see. Like,
No, but that's the thing. People don't know what people don't know what they like. They don't know what they
It's
want.
like-
They don't know what they want what to buy. They're gonna like somebody or not like somebody. They're gonna buy the game based on that, and they're gonna decide if
Yeah.
they like the game based if they like the guy. Like most people, for most people, not everybody, but for most people, that's what it is. You know, people like they don't have like that deep a thought process. I'm sorry
Right,
to
but if
say.
you want to discuss,
just back
if you want to
to
discuss, if you want to discuss the mechanics, there's a little bit of a depth and discussion that goes with that mechanics. Just like the thing with the arrows. You've been bow hunting, or you've
But
even shot. If you even shot archery,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, windage and elevation make a difference. So if you play a game where it's just, oh well, whatever, just throw this at it or whatever. Okay,
Mhm.
Look,
but then sooner or later somebody's going to go, well, that doesn't make any sense in this situation.
Well,
Whereas if you just
playtest
take,
it. I mean,
well, right,
it
eventually
shouldn't
what
be
you'll
based
find.
off of Twitter guys' opinion.
Well,
of
it's not just
archery.
it's just an anecdote, but the point is that if you shoot at somebody that's half the size of the other person because he's behind cover, it's going to be a harder shot. So how do you make
Mhm.
that an issue? What's eventually going to happen? Eventually, you're going to need a different score than the score where a guy's standing in the open.
Yeah, modifier.
But
Right, a
that's the thing
modifier.
also. You have to find the right, like I always say, you have to find the right people for the right group. Like if you have my table and you say like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like I want to house the win and stuff like that. So like, man, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we're trying to do right now. We're not trying to like. Are you trying to fucking win at D&D and like just to lend your shot in any fucking case? Like we're
Yeah,
trying to fucking
like,
create like
Maybe it's just trying to kill the guy, the monster though.
if your character knows how to use a bow,
character-
he should be
your-
able to account for
Yeah.
that without it
that
affecting the number.
exactly that's part of your bow skill, and it's part of the dice roll, and it's all like all those two elements take care of all this thing like windage and stuff like that, and the humidity and shit, whatever, right? The warm, because like, oh, if it's too warm, your bow is gonna get more soft than if it's colder. If it's brisk, your bow is gonna be like more springy.
Hard.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just like
Hard.
yeah, more stiff. This is what I was looking for. But that's the thing. If you're starting like bugging me like that down like
It
that,
is wood after all.
the characters want to kill the orc, right? But the player, what the player want, the player should be wanting like to have like this flow keep like being ongoing, and like staying in the narrative and stuff like that. If you start bringing down with the detail,
So when
you know
does
what?
it get?
My
Okay.
table is not right for you.
Yeah, well, but you got, like I say, it's easy to do that when you want to just have a group of friends. But I'm looking at this is the conflict, because I'm looking at having to please people that maybe I wouldn't want to have to deal with on a regular basis.
No, I never do that.
Yeah, right.
I never look
Yeah.
at these people.
So-
If you watch my show, I bet you know that.
I'm going to tell you, if you're trying to please every random
Yeah, well.
fuckwad on Twitter, you're going to create a crappy game.
Yeah, well,
Make what you
again,
want to make
nah.
and polish it so it's effective, and
Yeah.
those people who like the games you like will buy it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
again, you're
Because-
trying to get
because
a
also like everybody got an opinion, right? If you try to
Yeah.
listen to everybody's opinion, you're never gonna be done with anything. No, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just like You have to figure out like what you're trying to solve, like what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And
Right.
like
It's
you can
always
do that.
about that. It's a focus on what you're trying to do. And certain people have different approaches and there's different, so it's not just this one size. Let's make it as simple as possible. Coin flip. Because where do you get to a point where it's just too damn, cheesy?
Yeah.
Where do you
I
get
agree
to
with
that
you on
point?
that as well.
Yeah.
There is such a point. Yeah.
So where's the
And
line?
people
And
are going
you're
to put the line at different place.
right. Right. And
Yeah.
that's why there's more than one game out there. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
making more than one game. But some of it is just a matter of where, like again, the complexity thing, where people are using that for every little thing. But it doesn't mean that it's complicated all the time. There's people that do
No.
all sorts of shit behind that. So what I'm trying to do is peel back that curtain called complexity and understand individual people's complaints that they shield with the word complexity. See?
Because it's a veriform term. It means different things to different people.
Right, exactly.
But at the same time, like
Yeah.
when we say complexity here, usually we're saying like it's overly, like there's too much going on at the same time.
Yeah, but
Not
That's-
that there's one thing that you have to do, period. Right? Like if things are consistent, they become less complex.
mhm.
That yeah.
You know, those are-
If I handed you that harpoon I talked about, it would be very consistent. It would also get the same label because there's a lot of record keeping and math involved. So
Yeah.
since right, and some people, and yet it was played pretty extensively in the past because some
Yeah, but
people didn't give a shit, but some
and
people did.
Well, it was
it
all
might- like
those
and
options.
maybe I'm saying that's too complex. Maybe I'm gonna say that, but it's just like it doesn't mean that I'm not able to do it. I can do
Right.
fucking pretty complex shit.
Sure.
It's just like I'm not into it. It's just like it's too
Right.
complex for like I don't get
Exactly.
ours. I cannot. I don't
Right.
get like it's too complex for what it require me more effort than I
Then
care
I'm
to
willing
give
to
it,
put in
right?
because I don't give a shit
It's not
about
even
about
willing.
boats. Right.
Yeah.
It's
And
not,
they don't say that. Instead, they go, well, it's you took a and like I was saying
Well, but
earlier,
Who's
you have,
they?
you have- like when people say that,
People
when
I
you say
talk
like
to.
it's too complex, if people say it's too complex, you have to kind of understand like what they mean. Really, it's too complex for me, right? People talk for themselves all the time, right? It's just like it doesn't mean that it's objectively too complex.
Right.
It's too complex for what they're interested in, and different people are gonna have like different case with that. Like there's maybe some case you can say like something is just like sometimes I say like some games are like there's some game even tonight I talk about some games that I say are badly designed, or I say or I think I mostly think about like the game is not really badly designed, it's just not my type, or it doesn't try to do what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. Like even for I say that as well, like it's not like it's a functional game. And there's some other game that are just like badly designed because the design is fighting against itself, right? There's a difference in that.
but
Yeah.
at the same time, you also have what's that 50 years of innovation.
Hello, dog.
Yeah, but because like you mentioned the Tandy 600 earlier, Nunia.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put that up against like the cheapest, most crappiest Razer or Dell. You wouldn't put that up against I got a Dell in quality and comparisons because they're fucking 50 years of
Yeah.
innovation.
But game design is not an evolution in technology. Some of the best
No,
ideas
but
came
it's an
55 years
analogy,
ago.
bro.
Yeah,
it's
I
an
know, but
analogy. Like
A lot of
there are
people do
things
that kind of stuff.
there are things that we know there are better versions of
But that's not.
because
But
they've
again,
been
that's
play tested over the last 50 years.
right.
So
Well, some
wouldn't
of
you
them are better than they were now today. Some of the worst games being put out are being put out today, and there's always this idea
because
that
there's the ability to self-publish today.
no,
Which like okay, you get a lot more innovation, but you get a lot more crap.
The barrier of entry is much lower today.
Yeah.
But there's such a thing as an evolution in technology in game design as well, because especially in role playing game,
I
like
disagree.
in board game as well, there's something like we're figuring it out now, like like something are getting phased out, something we thought like we're like shoots and ladder. It's barely a game, right? It's a game that that plays itself. You have no choice to make, right?
And it
You
was
just
one
roll
of
the
the best
dice and then you
sellers.
move your what?
And it was one of the best sellers of its day.
Yeah, but the whole
Yeah.
technology and that part I don't No, because there's plenty. No. There's plenty of people that here's one of the great examples. Somebody doesn't know something was made in 1956, and they go, I've seen this happen, where they go, oh, that's a really great innovative thing that you've done. And they go, oh, you came up with it. Here's your name. Here's the name of the guy that came up with it. Oh, well, you didn't realize that this has been around in existence in a different publication 20 years earlier. But you think it's more modern. It's some evolution in technology, in game design technology, because you came across it 20 years later.
The example I wanted to say, like an example I could give you, like something can be like there is an evolution. There's like more new technology in game design, if you want, like, but it doesn't mean that it make the other one like disparate. Like I've been building out of furniture lately because I just moved and I didn't move my stuff, so now I need to build furniture, and I have like power tools and stuff like that, but I also still use a fucking wood chisel, right? I use a wood chisel quite a bit. I use a handsaw quite a bit. It does different jobs. Sometimes I need that as well, right? And I need both, right? Not because like, oh, now I have a skill saw, I don't need my handsaw anymore. No, that's not true. I still need the handsaw once in a while, right? And some project I do all with hand tool because I'm autistic, I guess. but it's still like the skill saw is an evolution in technology in a sense, but it doesn't mean that it means the other one like completely useless or disparate, right? Sometimes like, just for fun, I want to go back and do something with into the traditional way.
I definitely think people play a lot more games today than they did before. Like, do you not think that?
Yeah. I think
so. There's just a lot more demand for it, and there's a lot more different mechanics, and certainly tabletop board gaming. It's
just looking at looking at the list of games that were out in 1978 or something like that, I don't know that there's, that much difference or anything like that. What I like to do is I'd like to tell people that say this stuff, show me a mechanic that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Okay. I mean, it's
the
combination of mechanics is
10 years ago. 10 years were pretty much we're advanced in 10 years. 10 years ago was pretty advanced.
I don't
know
what was around 10 years ago.
20 years ago, 5 years ago. The thing, one guy that I dealt with, I mean, anytime, just like, because I just challenge people and I can't really get many people to respond.
Every mechanic that was created?
Placements, maybe?
Well, one guy...
a lot of worker placement 30 years ago?
Well, that's in board game, but even like in if you've seen role-playing game, in role-playing game, we didn't have like those... like the aspect-based game, we didn't have those like 20 years ago. That's kind of like a new, or maybe there was one, but like like the, what I mean by aspect-based game, like Fate and stuff like that, or like Barbarian of Lemuria, when you don't have like you don't have a class, you don't have skill, you have general aspect. Oh, my guy is a soldier and he's a pilot and stuff like that, and you can do like soldiery stuff, like so you just roll your soldier. Yeah. But that's a somewhat new design, right? The Power by the Apocalypse is a somewhat new design. The player-facing game, or a somewhat new thing, right? It's just like there's a bunch of things that are somewhat new, and new doesn't necessarily mean it's good either. Like I'm the guy that's against that. I'm not a big fan of technology. Like something can be a new technology, but be generally bad, right?
Yeah, but like if you're taking something that was old and making it smoother and easier to run,
but that's another opinion, and that comes from people's inability or unwillingness to put the things together. But I heard a guy train
Mind's theater, like paper, rock, scissors, that wasn't going on anywhere.
What's there? What's that?
Yeah.
No, that wasn't.
That's
It's almost 30 years ago, Phil.
What wasn't going on? Paper, rock, scissors?
The theater of the
well,
mind,
I mean, role-playing game is it developing? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd call it technology, but
well,
I think concepts have evolved.
I don't think so. I think that what one guy put it to me, Train was his name, Brian Train. He says, what you have is you have a toolbox of stuff. And that toolbox is you pull out certain tools and put them together in different combinations to come up with what you want. But that doesn't mean that those tools are anything new or innovative. I guarantee you that whatever you come up with, somebody can track back a game that existed decades before you thought that mechanic came to be in existence.
Probably.
But it's the marriage of the mechanic and it's the application of the mechanic.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
And-
different than
And
something new coming along.
There's
like-
also a
Okay.
thing like I think I was talking about that earlier too. There's innovation and then there's
Yeah.
iteration, right? Sometimes it's rare that somebody can come up with something innovative, something that is new, completely new and stuff like that.
it's
But then
less
you also
than-
like people that take something that exists already,
yeah.
Right.
and refine it a bit and make it
It's
smoother.
That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
if you're in your opinion smoother, but that's not. See, it's like this. It's like
So just-
Well, it's always my
it's-
opinion.
So
It's always my
everything
opinion. I'm not
older
gonna say
is
that every
better?
time I say something.
Yeah,
like-
in your opinion, it's like
well, I don't care. It's like this thing. This is when you pull this open. It's just the hard drive from a laptop, right? So what did the guy really do that was new? Like you say, he put a bunch of existing technology together, or she, to be fair.
but that's 90% of all development.
It's
Right. But that's
99.
that's not
Yeah.
evolution. See, that's the
Well,
point.
it's literally
innovation leads
evolution. That's
evolution.
what evolution is. Evolution is small step, like small leap. It's not like big leap. That's what it's. You take
Right,
something.
but it's putting
that
something
exists,
together.
you make it
It's
a
just
little
this
better.
idea that because it's on a different point in the calendar, it's better. But that's the point is that it's not.
But
No,
you're
that-
saying
that-
the
no,
opposite.
that I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that because it's
This is-
newer, it's better. I'm not saying that. A lot of things are newer or shittier. There's a lot of
Right.
people, modern people, like.
but
are
that also works the other way too.
shittier.
Because it's
Yeah.
older, it can also be shittier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works both directions.
Yeah.
Goes
It's-
both direction.
it's
It's not,
functionality.
you don't judge something based on when
Functionality.
it was made up, right? But and you can look at those AD&D first edition book, right? The writing is can be hard to
It's
get through. I'm
obtuse.
not, and then
Right.
it's obtuse, and you can say like, well, then some other people can explain the same rules in a smoother way, in a better way. Is that
Yeah.
better? And maybe you can also make the argument that having those hard to read book keep the moral away, and it forced people to learn new word and to understand complex language. So there's also like educational purpose.
Sure.
The
The 70s and 80s, nobody
necessarily all-
hired an editor. I don't know why, but nobody hired an editor in 78.
They didn't have the money for
Well,
it.
because
Yeah.
they didn't
It's
have the
just
money
that
for
simple.
it.
It just, I mean, they would print the hell out of stuff.
Did
but they wouldn't-
editing role playing games get better?
I think
No.
they
No,
just started
people still
hiring
don't have
editors.
money for it.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people that don't do it, and now like
Yeah.
the big company that have money for it, they
Is
edit
that
their
not an
game, put
evolution?
like fucking stupid shit in it. Like they just
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
gender
you hire
neutral
an
pronoun and sensitivity bullshit, right? That's
Yeah.
what they do when they have an editor now. So
you
it
hire
better?
an
I don't think
editor, and all they do is slap on the cover. White people shouldn't play this game.
Yeah.
Uh, In fact, that's
Yeah.
their whole fucking
Anyways.
$2,000 or whatever.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna wrap this. I'm gonna start wrapping this show up.
Yeah.
I don't know, finishing around 1, I guess, would be a good time. What do you think? Yeah, anything you want to add? I don't think we solved anything tonight.
Oh,
Well, can if you're just adding like modifiers and taking away modifiers, is that can you leave that up to a GM, or do you think it's just kind of back to what you're saying? Do you need like
I can
an
answer that. I
extensive,
can-
detailed description of when to use a specific modifier for it
I
to
can
be
answer
a
that.
legitimate game?
in a somewhat succinct way. For me, like what I like in the game and what I'm trying to do is like give me a few modifier. Give me like a modifier when something
Yeah.
is like a small impediment, a medium impediment, a severe impediment, and just like stick
An
to
example,
those, and
a couple of examples.
an example
Mhm.
exactly. I can tell you, okay, this is gonna be like, oh, you're trying to run in mud, that's a medium impediment. You're trying to run in on ice, that's a severe impediment, right? Just like give me some example like that, but like always use the same number. I hate games that say like, oh, okay, in this situation it's gonna be a +1, in this situation it's gonna be a -4, in this situation it's gonna be a +2, in this situation it's gonna be a +5, in this situation it's gonna be a -7, right? And it's all over the place. All the fucking number or touch, I mean,
Okay.
that's too much generality
Yeah.
for me. Like I don't.
So why
fucking
wouldn't you
care.
just
It doesn't
write out-
fucking matter?
if you wanted consistency, why wouldn't you just write down every instance of a modifier that you have into a chart?
Because I don't want to use an app.
You don't need
Yeah,
an
I don't
app.
wanna
You
use
can
it.
write it down. A
I don't
chart
want to
can
have
be-
a giant chart, and I don't want an app.
Well, and that's the thing.
Or
Like
a list.
I don't. It's like I cannot fucking think about all the like, and I don't necessarily want that included
Yeah.
in the game either because it'd be too long, right? You don't want to have any modifier.
Every
The GM can
contingency.
educate.
Yeah.
The
that's-
GM
Well,
can educate, but give me like 2 or 3
Okay.
categories. You
Well,
know,
I'm not-
don't,
and I
like-
don't. Let me ask you this, and I'm not really not trying to be difficult, but if you want consistency, because you were saying, Max was saying, I don't want the same modifier pulled out of somebody's hat in this, and be inconsistent. If you can't remember them, or you're just saying that you want enough that you can remember in your head, so you don't have to write them down or anything like that at all.
We want
That's
a
what you're doing.
minor, major, and extreme.
Yeah.
That's basically 3 categories.
Three categories.
For the same thing for the, like
No,
be
not
clear.
for the same thing. Not necessarily for the same thing. Not
Okay,
necessarily for the
that's
same
where
thing.
I'm missing it. Okay,
Yeah.
now I
For
get
like, like throughout your games, right?
I got you.
All your modifier, like you can say like and make them like don't make them like +1, +2, +3. Give some space in between,
Sure.
so it's more clear. Like say like it's +1 like a bear does in this game. +1, +2, +5. I like that. I do +1, +2, +10. I go a little more extreme on the extreme one, right?
Yeah, that's where I was missing.
Basically saying-
I get it now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's just like now, okay, there's a circumstance that play against you a little bit. It's gonna be a -1. Oh no, it's kind of serious thing. It's gonna be -3. Nah, you're trying to do something that's nearly impossible. That's gonna be a -10, right? So now it's easy. It's easy category that you can put into our mind, like that we can categorize and just keep it moving. Keep it moving is important for me, I guess. That's what
Yeah.
I think that the other thing is something we brought up in a previous stream was try not to make it too high res. You know what I mean? And then that way you can kind of keep that. You don't have to. That way your consistency is less of a problem.
I don't need
Honestly,
to know
like,
how many daffodils there are in the courtyard of the princess's balcony next to her duvet or whatever.
Well, the advantage is
20.
that here's the
20.
advantage that I
Now you know.
have
It's
with
20.
my stuff. This is
Write it down.
this is the advantage that I have, is that when I have states and I have different modifiers for different situations, then when I have that, you don't have to. The whole point is that the player doesn't have to learn this stuff. All I have to do is have it, and then
No,
that way,
you shouldn't even have it.
well, I'm going to have it because I should have it. There's a good reason to have it, and the good reason to have it is now I have an incomplete narrative description of what happened, and I can use that as a set of notes so that I can describe what's going on to the people as they're playing in the depth and detail that I would like to describe it to them. It's literally creating a cheat sheet for me to be able to describe things to them. See, as a narrative in great detail. That's why details matter. Otherwise, people are going, well, I guess, because I've had people do this where I go, I kind of see what you're saying, but you're not being detailed enough for me to understand what's going on because they can't visual it.
Yeah, but like that's the thing also. Like I exactly. I bet my player more than that. Like like if you like, I just like I want you to if I don't give you enough detail, add them. You're welcome to do so. I wanted to read something here like about in the BRP there. They talk about like your skill and all the modifier by your attribute basically, and they talk about like how you're gonna have like +1% for every point of skill above 10 that is your primary and stuff like that. And then you get the example like, oh, okay, you're like, oh, you're gonna like a +2 for your dex for that, and -1 for your and +2 for your strength, and -1 for your intelligence. That was gonna be +3%, right? And that's fucking too much granularity. Like I don't fucking care about having that +3%. That's why I'm not a big fan of the D100 rules, because then they devolve into that, right? Oh, congratulations, you got +3%. Like that's too much fucking fine detail. Like you got +2% to your roll. Oh, nice. Like if you just bring it down to a D20 at that point, right, and just like you go by chunk of 5%, then it feels more meaningful, and I don't need the fucking level of detail, right? But I was reading that, and I was like, man, like now you're making like those category like, oh, you're pretty strong, so it's gonna give you like a 3% bonus to your roll. Like fuck, that's so unsatisfying, and it's also like it gives also a lot of room for the luck roll in itself. I don't know.
D100's a
There's
whole other
this-
luck roll.
Yeah, there's this
Yeah.
level of granularity there that D100
Mhm.
is another luck roll, but the skill part count for more than in a D20. Like it's still linear, but because your skill change, like your skill is not like +1, +2, +5, right? No, it's not like you don't have like a +5 modifier to your roll. You roll under your skill, so like a 25 in your skill or a 15 in your skill is a big
With
difference.
a plus 25 instead of a +5.
You guys know about anydice.org, right?
Oh yeah, I'm an
Any
expert at it.
Yeah. Because I got all these, when I tried 1D20, I had all these people going, bell curve, bell curve, bell curve. And they wanted me to, they said, oh, no, it's no good unless you use 3D6 because bell curve, probability, and all that. So,
Yeah.
you guys,
But,
well,
it was,
I want to try a 3D6 system. That sounds interesting.
Mhm.
well, it's also like if you talk about like maths and stuff like that, like you could have the bell curve with even the linear, like people don't understand. If the dice is linear, it doesn't matter if your target number are on a curve.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
At the end of the day, like it does the same thing. If you have like your dice roll on a curve, but your target number are linear,
Yeah, you got to know
it's
the
the same
curve.
result, right? In math, like you have to compare, like you have to kind of cross-reference the both to have like to know really if you have a luck roll or not.
yeah.
There are ways around it.
Yeah, that was probability
knowing.
theory was a big thing when you got into people that were talking about super easy rules and low technology or low complexity. Then you talk to them about game design, and they would get into like deep probability, theory and stuff like that. So
And
two of the
oftentimes
same.
people like only look at the first layer,
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
game system, it's a layer thing. You have to look at the
Mhm.
so there's that thing.
Right.
Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap
Details
that out.
matter.
I'm getting a bit I'm getting quite tired.
I know.
So I'll thank you guys for joining. Unless you have like if you have like one last thing you want to touch about, you can.
No.
Let's go
I
around.
want to run. I want to
Justin.
run. Yeah.
What?
Justin, you have anything to add except that it's not more bug related?
I
How do I
said
get
no, but if you want me to say Morkborg a bunch of times, I will.
No, it's good. Thank you. Phil, anything else you want to add? You want to chill or whatever?
Yeah, I want to run a werewolf one shot for you one day.
I love that. I would be. I haven't played Warwolf in so long. I'm
I know
waiting
you got
for
the-
a copy
you
of
got your-
the 20th anniversary edition. Yeah,
I've never played
I'll
it,
be glad.
but I'd be down.
I guess you're invited. I'm sorry. Of course you're
You're
invited.
inviting yourself. Well, Justin, you need to fucking get a camera.
Get
We won't
it's
fucking
a-
roleplay with you if you don't have a camera.
Oh, okay.
That's the rule. Yeah.
I'll set up a cell phone or something.
I gotta up my street cred out here with the good GM game
I
on
need
stream.
to like, man. I just fucking wanna. Yeah, I want to run stuff, but I'm just been like so busy, and I want to find like the right system, and I don't want to go right to I'm gonna run my own fucking system that I'm working on, right? Just like I'm a little more humble than that.
I just
But
thought
one
you
day-
liked werewolf. That's why I picked it, and
Yeah,
I know
I do.
white wolf probably the best out of any system. So
Yeah, I like being a eco-fascist.
and I'll make sure you're an echo fascist. I will you want pre-mades, right? I'll have it for you. So
Oh, pre-made. Oh
No.
yeah, pre-made. I don't. It doesn't matter. I can whip a character with wolf pretty fast. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, what's
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Nunya, anything you want to add or you want to chill?
No.
Why you don't have like a whiteboard under your name with, I don't know, maybe with you're big on Twitter with your Twitter and all
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Next time
No.
do that.
Okay. Well, we will.
It's too late
I
now.
got- Right.
I just noticed now. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining me tonight, and thank you also for Crispy that joined us earlier. And thank you for people that watch live. Thank you if anybody watched that on replay and watched to this point. Thank you. And I'll be back on Thursday with Tyler to talk about what did we say we talk about? I think we
Investigation.
didn't Investigation. That's right. Thank you,
Yeah,
Phil.
I'm really
We're
looking forward
like,
to that.
So,
yeah,
I'm
we're gonna do a show about like
I'm-
investigation.
I'm being investigated for $3,000, so I don't know what I could do. Jesus, I'm I'm getting
We'll give.
sued
for
So it'll be
what?
like Chip and
for the place I used to live in. They want to sue me for damages.
Yeah.
So I just
Alright.
found that out today. Yeah,
Should have got drunk
count-
last
fight.
night.
Should counter them for 6
yeah.
That's how
That'll
it
show.
works.
plus legal fees.
Well, yeah, I didn't do anything, but
Squatters.
Yeah.
yeah. So
And then next
what
week
would
we're gonna,
investigation would be? What does that entail? I'm not familiar with that term. as
running
far as
investigation games, basically, like
Oh.
Adventure.
if you want to do like those investigation adventure, like mystery and Call of Cthulhu and stuff like that, like when you're trying to figure stuff out. Yeah.
You're the shitty Sherlock Holmes running around like an idiot.
Clue.
See what it's
Yeah.
I used to play Clue. That was all I ever did.
Exactly. That's just whip out your Clue board game.
Is Arkham one of those things?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Arkham,
Arkham
the
board
the
game?
card game.
No, I had I had Watsy gave me a ton of these Arkham miniatures. Arkham House.
Oh no, that would not.
Arkham
Be.
Horror, that's a Cthulhu board game. I guess they are for, but
It's
no,
a
like Call of Cthulhu would be is Call of Cthulhu, like actually I guess like the character are like actually named investigator instead of adventurer, so that would be like the classic one. But it's even like if you every time you do like a murder mystery and stuff like that in game, like you're into the investigation session or campaign and stuff like that. So that's what we're gonna talk about, I guess. Yeah, we'll see. We talk with Tyler. We talk usually like on Wednesday or on Thursday during the day. We talk about like where we're gonna go with the show. So
we convinced
sometimes
him
we
in the
take
last
it-
one to do the investigation.
Yeah, I think it's a good topic. Yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you for everybody that watched on the replay. And like I say, I see you on Thursday with for Dice and Design with Tyler, and I'll see you on and then on Sunday I'll do another like everybody stream on Sunday stream.
That's
So
assuming
see
we
you back
don't
then.
play Diablo sometime.
Maybe we'll play some video game during this week.
It's okay if you don't want to, bro.
No, I want to actually. Like that's the thing. I want to, but I also want to produce. I want to go back to writing. I want to go back to produce
definitely
more
go back to
content
that.
for the channel. Like I got those bunch of books I need to read, make out to on, make review and shit like that.
Mhm.
And like I gave myself a month since from the move to set my place up and build furniture and shit like that. Right after a month, which is gonna be on the 21st, stuff that I didn't do, I need to buy. That's kind of the rules I put myself, But I hate buying stuff because I'm not a consumer.
You're still trying to figure out how to build a fridge.
Yeah. Well, I know it's winter, so that's not too much of a trouble. But
What have you built so far? If you don't mind me extending
I
this.
I build a couch, I build a TV stand, but I'm setting up my office, even though it's temporarily. That took me a while as well.
Fucking built a couch. That's badass.
But it
It's
wasn't
already
the
falling
first time.
apart, though.
It wasn't the first time I would know. I built them because like
Did you have to
I'm a
shear
big guy.
anything?
I have to. I got the foam and stuff like that. You cut the
Oh.
foam with a bread knife and shit like that, and then you do like
Yeah.
you do the upholstery, so I can sew as well.
Fucking so cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
my
Mr.
grandfather
Mo
was
over
a
here.
tailor, so
Mr. Mom over here can sew. Mr.
Well,
Mom
I don't know how to
always
sew,
would
man.
be with
Super handy.
Batman.
my grandfather was a master tailor, so
No shit. That's badass.
yeah. But I'm not very good at it. But for upholstery, like it's good enough.
Well, you wear blankets.
I wear blankets. That's what I do. I wrap myself in blanket. It beats wearing clothes.
It's like I'm really good at tailoring togas. Like, well,
Yeah.
it's not really hard.
It's just a
I
pin.
I go back old school.
Uh,
Badass.
But yeah, and I've started on some other thing, but sometimes, you know, when you make a bunch of cut, like I make cuts for a few furniture that are not assembled yet. Like I need to do like a side table and shit like that, and a coffee table, and I want to build like something for my cats as well, so they can a place they can climb. I guess a kind of cat tree or a cat shelf, cat shelving unit.
Right now they're just playing in boxes.
You need to have two across the room so they can
With a
they can
bridge.
cross the room and stare at each other with the evil cat eye.
Yeah, well, yeah, they don't get along, so yeah, it's a problem. Anyway, but slowly, and also like I always have a bunch of like shit to do, like changing my bill, changing my address, stuff like that, moving like from province to, it's always a big hassle. Yeah.
Mhm.
You got to do it 3 times, like you said.
Yeah.
Gotta do it 3
No,
times.
No, the every fucking like when I went to the post office
Mhm.
to get my address changed and to get my key for the mailbox, I had to get there 3 times because
They were
they're fucking
closed.
incompetent. No, they're incompetent. No, I was there for a while every time, and then like there was always something that didn't work, and I had to go back home and do something else for them and bring them a piece of residency, and then it didn't work. I have to call the landlord to get a different piece of residency, proof of residency, and go back, and it was a fucking hassle. And then they got my address wrong, so then I had to go back again.
It helps if
Man.
you don't call them all fat pigs as you're dealing with them. You know what I mean?
Well, it would help if they lose some weight.
Well.
Then. The honest is on them,
fair.
not on me.
I resemble that remark.
Well,
Same.
you know, if you ever want to get your life on order, also have like a training channel.
I'm gonna be able
And
to
a
work out
Telegram
in
group.
mid-January again, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna.
Uh,
If you don't
Send me
hate
form
me
video.
by then,
I'll give you
definitely,
yeah,
hit you up.
I'll give you advice.
Appreciate that. How much money?
Take care,
How much
guys.
do I have to Venmo you? Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh no, I do it. I do the pro bono. Yeah, for the love of the sport and for people
I
not to
got
injure
you.
themselves.
Sexual
Take care, guys.
favors. Gotcha.
he does it because he just hates fat people that much.
I'm sorry.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night. See you.
Mm.
It's gonna kill the fat person.